The neon lights of Las Vegas glitter like artificial stars in the night. To the everyday passers-by, it's just another bustling evening filled with energy and excitement. But for me, it's a night fraught with danger and uncertainty. The vampire world is stirring. Whispers of a monumental event have escaped their secret enclave, reaching even my ears. Information is scarce, however, and I must venture into their world to know more. An associate of mine has told me of an information broker, one they call Ulysses, a creature of the night who dabbles in information and blood. After a night-long search, my eyes narrow as I catch a flicker of movement in the shadows of a secluded alleyway. I pull the collar of my coat closer around my neck and venture deeper, my senses on high alert, aware that anything could happen. There, hidden in the shadows, stands a gaunt figure with a mask covering most of his face, his eyes cold, lock onto mine.
"Must have come a long way, Hunter,"
he says, his voice like the distant rumble of thunder, carrying a weight, a history.
"A vial of blood for a piece of truth. That's the trade."
I pull from my coat a vial and hand it to him. He takes it, stowing it away before speaking.
"The family reunion, an awakening of old lines, a meeting of ancient clans. From that council, a new power emerges, a clan called Hecata. The world moves, Hunter, and you must move with it."
He fades into the shadows. I'm left with a name, Hecata, and a feeling that my path has taken a turn toward an unknown destination. The road ahead is filled with darkness and danger, but it's a road I must walk. The alley seems colder now, more foreboding. My thoughts were, pondering the implications of this new information. The vampire world is an intricate web of power and politics, and something has shifted. A change that could threaten the delicate balance they have set in place for centuries. A new quest has begun. A trail laid out before me that I have no choice but to follow. The word Hecata will be my guide, a mystery to unravel. The neon lights continue to sparkle in the distance as I leave the alley, my face determined, my resolve hardened. The vampire world is changing, and I will be the one to unearth its secrets. Over the past few months, I've done an extensive investigation into this Hecata clan, and have found out much about who they are and their origins. Relying on the help of the kindred in my search for answers, meeting with outcasts who lived their unlives in a similar fashion to my own. After collecting dozens of first-hand accounts, as well as a large amount of books and old documents unwanted or stolen from ancient vampires, I believe that I can accurately relay who this new clan Hecata really is to you all, as well as who they once were. To understand this new threat, we must look to their history. Long before the Hecata, there existed one known as the Cappadocians, one of the original 13 great vampiric clans, the original clan of death. The progenitor of the Cappadocians, Cappadocius, was an unusual figure. In his mortal life, he was thought to be a priest or shaman, but such information has been lost to time. He was fascinated by the mystery of death and spent most of his unlife in isolation studying its intricacies. As such, Cappadocius would not sire any progeny until after the fall of the Second City. Additionally, unlike many of his fellow antediluvians, he did not see his vampiric nature as a curse, but rather as an opportunity to delve into the eternal question that haunts humanity: the mystery of death. In his pursuit of an answer, Cappadocius would study and interact with history's greatest thinkers, including Zoroaster, Buddha, Nebuchadnezzar, Alexander the Great, and various Greek philosophers. After countless millennia and still no conclusive answer, he would create his first childer named Caius Coin. Together they continued to seek answers to death's riddles. His clan would grow over the centuries as Cappadocius and Caius would sire more children, with more members growing to similar numbers of his fellow antediluvians. Cappadocius sent his progeny across the globe, desperately searching for an answer, but to no avail. His quest seemed futile until he stumbled upon insight in the lands of the Hebrews, where he would arrive at his first breakthrough. Cappadocius would travel to what is now known as Israel, and come across a lone tent on the plains of Canaan. Agitated and hungry, he had originally intended to kill the occupant. However, upon entering the tent and threatening the terrified Jewish man inside, Cappadocius was stopped in his tracks by the man's simple faith in God's sovereignty and goodness. This encounter led Cappadocius to a profound realization. He had been seeking answers from mortals and studying the dead. But the truth he sought was beyond human understanding. It was held by God alone. He recognized that his thousands of years of wandering and asking mere mortals for insight had been wasted. The true path to understanding the mystery of death lay in seeking knowledge from God himself. Rejuvenated by his epiphany, Cappadocius called all his progeny to assemble in the carved rock city of Gorem, informing them of the need to be physically closer to the heavens in their quest to understand death. A procession of Cappadocian monks climbed Mount Erciyes. Various witnesses observed their grim and silent march. Upon arriving at a monastery on Erciyes, also known as Erciyes, the Cappadocians invaded it, killing the 400 human residents and its sole kindred occupant, a Malkavian named Algol. Led by Caius Coin, they took over the temple, changing its nature overnight. The sudden transformation of the temple sparked curiosity among other kindred, but visitors found only more monks. The Cappadocians worked tirelessly, renovating and rebuilding the monastery with underground chambers, libraries, and mausoleums. Completed within months, the temple became a place devoted to the study of death. Though most of the Cappadocian clan pursued their studies elsewhere, the temple remained open to any Cappadocian who wished to report, study, or rest. The assembled clan also decided to reconvene at the temple every year for the winter solstice to discuss their studies and formalize clan matters. The temple became known by many names, all invoking the pursuit of enlightenment and revelation of secrets. After capturing the Erciyes temple, the Cappadocians openly embraced Christianity during its spread throughout the Western world. They provided protection for persecuted Christians in the lands of Cappadocia, particularly in the underground cities of Derinkuyu and Kemachli, which harbored many Christians during times of intolerance. The Cappadocians were vital to the growth of Christianity, carving churches and monasteries into the land. Some clan members remain active in their founders' homeland, building churches to serve Christians. Cappadocius himself, following Christ's teachings, took refuge with his children in the underground city of Derinkuyu, enjoying its cool, dry climate and protection from the sun. Some became active in spreading and teaching Christian thought, while others continued their secretive work toward understanding death. At this time, Cappadocius advised his progeny to be moderate in their pursuit of unraveling the mystery of death. Following a philosophy by Herodotus, the clan members diversified their interests, becoming librarians, philosophers, cartographers, linguists, and scholars in various fields. Some even embraced travelers, warriors, and civil servants, explaining that such diversity would keep the clan from stagnation and bring new perspectives. The Cappadocian clan continued to study death, but also welcomed an unprecedented number of new members into different areas of expertise. As a member of the faith myself, I am indeed struck by the Cappadocians' embrace of Christianity. It's a poignant reminder that the Lord's mercy extends even to those we may see as unnatural or cursed. Their exploration of death contrasts my own pursuit of redemption in life. Yet their commitment to diversity resonates with me. It's a stark lesson that God's love is not limited, reaching even into the darkness to touch all his creations. The habits of Cappadocius and his children began to distress the mortal residents of Derinkuyu. Their macabre studies of corpses and the constant presence of the cadaverous vampires unnerved the residents, who became anemic and sickly due to mass feedings and exposure to unpreserved bodies. Realizing the strain his growing brood placed on the community, and understanding his error in bestowing the embrace so lightly, Cappadocius felt remorse. He returned to Erciyes to study the Book of Nod, where he noted the warnings against the careless spread of Cain's blood and the sin resulting from disobedience. Reflecting on his own carelessness, Cappadocius decided to take action and called his entire clan to convene in the underground city of Kemachli. Guided by a prescient vision, he prepared for the assembly. knowing that drastic measures were necessary to address the situation. During a gathering in the underground chambers of Camacli, attended by some 12,000 vampires of the Clan of Death, Cappadocius questioned the surprising number of his progeny. He then subtly and systematically culled the ranks of his clan by asking specific questions about their abilities, faith, and pursuits. Those who were found lacking were directed deeper into the city. Once the selection was complete, Cappadocius ordered the entrance to the city sealed forever, condemning thousands of his childer to their fate inside. He placed a ward on the portal to ensure that no child of Cain would leave. Weeping tears of blood for his carelessness and short-sighted obsession, he declared the place cursed and told the mortal residents to leave and never return. I journeyed to Camacli after learning of this mass culling. It is indeed an eerie place, permeated with an unsettling silence that belies the whispers of its past. The vast underground chambers, once teeming with Cappadocius's progeny, now felt cold, empty, and forgotten. Yet, beneath this desolation, there was a sense of residual energy, a tragic echo of the lives that were once lived here, abruptly silenced. After the Feast of Folly, Cappadocius experienced a series of profound visions about the future. He saw the crucifixion of Christ, paralleling it with the entombment of thousands of vampires from his clan, symbolizing sacrifice for the greater good. A subsequent vision showed Cappadocius himself on the cross, with his children Japheth and Caius, and a multitude of mortal men weeping. He interpreted this as a sign that he needed to sacrifice himself to sustain humanity amid the increasing number of vampires. These visions led Cappadocius to believe that he must attain divinity. Along with his closest childer, he delved into various texts, including Gnostic, Zoroastrian, and Egyptian writings. These studies indicated that one could become God by consuming his body and blood, leading to a ritual that would allow ascent into heaven and the transformation of all of humanity. Inspired by this idea, Cappadocius believed that if he reached Golconda, a state of enlightenment for vampires, and diablerized God, he could merge life and death into an infinite, unending oneness. Though he found an answer to the riddle of existence, the practical question of how to accomplish this profound transformation remained elusive. Cappadocius would spend the next few centuries attempting to attain Golconda. He would continue to search for a way up until the 12th century, where he would run into a group of mortal necromancers known as the Giovanni. Early in the 12th century, Cappadocian agents discovered a cabal of mortal necromancers in Venice known as the Giovanni family. This family, profiteers of the Crusades, had become skilled in a form of necromancy that specialized in the summoning of wraiths. When news of this reached the Cappadocians, their founder Cappadocius saw an opportunity and wanted to bring the Giovanni into the clan, despite misgivings from his child Japheth. Japheth disagreed with his sire's decision, fearing the Giovanni were untrustworthy and pointing to their pursuit of power rather than enlightenment. Despite this, Cappadocius reached out to Augustus Giovanni, head of the family, and offered him immortality. Upon Augustus's arrival at Erciyes, Japheth and Constantia saw his corrupt motives, but carried out their task in loyalty to their sire. Japheth placed a curse on Cappadocius's blood, connecting the deeds of the drinker to the vitae itself. Augustus was then embraced, and the blood of Cappadocius was poured into him. Augustus's transformation into a vampire was violent and primal. His immediate bloodthirst was barely contained, and it was clear he was driven by dark desires. After being subdued and fed, he was welcomed to eternal night by Japheth, and led to confer with the three most powerful members of the Cappadocian clan. The decision to bring the Giovanni into the clan, motivated by curiosity and potential alliance, was fraught with tension and conflict, laying the groundwork for a complex and troubled relationship. This would mark the beginning of the end for the Clan of Death, as Japheth's suspicions would soon be proven right. After the embrace of Augustus Giovanni, both Japheth and Cappadocius fell into torpor. Augustus became third in command, but had no real authority within the loosely structured Cappadocian clan. He focused on translating family necromancy into an effective discipline. Cappadocius then had a vivid premonition of the clan being consumed by fire, with shadowy figures laughing beyond the flames. A single spark ascended into heaven, leading him to realize the doom of his clan. He departed for Rome, seeking documents to affirm his quest for godhood, and worked feverishly, believing that failure would damn the entire world. He relayed his vision to Japheth, who shared it with the clan, leaving them shocked. The newly embraced Giovanni were visibly shaken, realizing the embrace was not just a shortcut to supremacy. Reactions among other Cappadocians varied based on their beliefs and paths. After the third revelation of their clan's impending doom, the Cappadocians reacted in various ways. Some became defeatist, merely waiting for their judgment, while others worked to leave a mark on the world or advance their studies. Some of the eldest went into torpor or hidden themselves in remote locations. For many, daily life continued as normal, with a resigned acceptance of fate. Those isolated from the clan and unaware of the prophecy remained in ignorance. Cappadocius grappled deeply with his revelation, feeling the weight of its implications. Convinced that his days were numbered, he hastened his quest to transcend into divinity. He was convinced that to diablarize God, he had to relinquish his earthly form and elevate his soul to the heavens. To achieve this, he believed he needed to be diablarized himself. Meanwhile, his latest progeny, Augustus Giovanni, was rapidly extending his dominion. By embracing his entire lineage, he sought to solidify their position within the clan. As Cappadocius yearned for godhood, Augustus and his lineage deemed it essential to neutralize him to avert potential worldwide repercussions. Thus, Augustus and his progeny, Claudius Giovanni, hatched the plot that would later be termed the Conspiracy of Isaac. The Conspiracy of Isaac was masterminded by Augustus Giovanni to execute the Diablarie of the Cappadocian Antediluvian and Japheth. Spearheaded by Claudius Giovanni and involving vampires from various clans, these aristocratic conspirators successfully achieved their primary goal in 1444. The Cappadocians' increasing isolation from vampire matters, due to a foreseen clan destruction vision, had created this window of opportunity. As the Ventru blamed Japheth for the Cappadocians' isolation, they eyed replacement with Augustus Giovanni. Subsequently, Ventru Jadwiga Almanov proposed the assassination of Japheth to Claudius. Both had ulterior motives, Jadwiga on behalf of her clan's council, and Claudius with intentions to diablarize the Cappadocian founder on orders from Augustus. Augustus used the Conspiracy of Isaac as a distraction for the Camarilla's founders, hoping to secretly kill Cappadocius. Yet when Augustus arrived to kill Cappadocius, he unexpectedly encountered the founders, making his mission more challenging. Though he succeeded in eliminating Cappadocius, this act earned the Giovanni clan the founders' wrath. After the death of their progenitor, Clan Cappadocian was into two distinct entities. One was the original Cappadocians, who were too passive to foresee or prevent Augustus's treachery, and the other was the Giovanni family, which had grown significantly in mortal numbers, becoming a notable force in kindred society. Giovanni would later find that he was not fully successful in devouring his sire. Sometime later, it was brought to his attention that a small amount of Cappadocius's blood, along with his soul, were sealed away by Japheth. Whether this was a ploy created by Cappadocius himself is unknown. This event would not only solidify the Giovanni as one of the 13 clans within the vampire world, but relegate the Cappadocians to a mere bloodline. The Giovanni clan is one I'm deeply familiar with, having come across them long after they solidified their reputation. Their members are ruthless, and are the only clan that is said to be truly independent in the eyes of the Camarilla and Sabbat. However, with the rise of the Hecata, the new clan of death, I was left pondering their fate. Did they suffer the same destiny as the Cappadocians, or was it a different story altogether? I felt compelled to delve further into this mystery, and looked into their history. The Giovanni family emerged around 2,000 years ago under the name Jovian, during the height of the Roman Empire. They were shrewd and resourceful, and profited significantly from the wars that marked that era. even providing supplies and intel to both sides of the war between Octavian and Mark Antony in 31 BC. Even during their mortal times, they were rooted in death, rumored to be involved in a form of necromancy that was related to ancestor worship and communicating with the deceased, which was considered more acceptable during the time of Roman dominance. The Jovians were notably accomplished in this form of necromancy, summoning family guardians, the spirits of their ancestors, to aid them. Over time, the Jovians amassed wealth through various businesses, such as money lending, shipping, and artisanship. Despite not being a very centralized family, they were successful, influential, and reached high offices throughout the empire, culminating with one family member, Flavius Jovianus, becoming emperor in the 4th century AD. The Jovians, who had been Christian since it became an option, turned the empire back into a Christian nation under Flavius Jovianus's rule, after the reign of Julian the Apostate, who had practiced paganism. However, the Jovians' prosperous times didn't last. Flavius Jovianus only ruled for a year before he died. By the end of the 4th century, the Western Roman Empire was in decline, and by the 5th century, it was apparent that Germanic tribes would soon overrun Rome. Despite the Jovians managing to survive the first 2 sacking of Rome, their family guardians abandoned them during their greatest need, and some even added to the destruction. In response to the upheaval, the family fled to an island settlement founded by refugees of Attila the Hun's invasions. By the end of the 5th century, these island communities united under a council of representatives, which included Jovians, who eventually took on roles of leadership and mercantilism. This refugee settlement in the Venetian lagoon expanded as more people sought refuge there, particularly after the Lombard invasion decimated the Roman army in Italy. During the quiet period of the subsequent centuries, Venice continued to grow and became more influential, eventually electing its first doge in the early 8th century. This period was marked by significant religious debate, particularly regarding the depiction of God, the iconoclast movement. As Venice grew into a dominant maritime power, the Giovanni family, aided by their strategic position and their wraithly benefactors, regained their wealth and came to the attention of the Cappadocian clan. The Cappadocians' interest in the Giovanni's ability with necromancy, the manipulation of souls of the dead, was based on their own focus on the physical aspects of death, a stark contrast to the spiritual approach of the Giovanni. The founder of the Cappadocians hoped the Giovanni could reveal the secrets of what happens to souls after death. In 1005, the progenitor of the Cappadocian clan embraced Augustus Giovanni, making him a vampire and the patriarch of the Giovanni family. This event took place in the Cappadocian temple at Mount Erciyes in Turkey, and was observed by Japheth and Constantia, both of whom disagreed with the decision to bring the Giovanni into the Cappadocian clan. From the perspective of the Giovanni, the Cappadocians seem to have been driven mad with the weight of undeath. They hoped to atone for the curse of Cain, the curse of vampirism, by eliminating its cause. This led to the misguided goal to diablerize God, a task they believed would make them divine beings. They mistakenly interpreted ancient rituals and texts, believing that by mastering life and death, they could attain life beyond life, or eternal life. The Cappadocians wanted to embrace the Giovanni family to learn their secrets of necromancy. Augustus Giovanni, being savvy and ambitious, accepted the offer of becoming a vampire under the Cappadocians, as it promised him power, immortality, and the opportunity to increase his family's stature. As stated before, this would ultimately lead to Cappadocius's death and the rise of Clan Giovanni. After the Giovanni completed its transformation, there was a quiet period of a few hundred years. During this time, the family took advantage of 2 strategic opportunities. The first came with the occurrence of the First Crusade and its subsequent series. The Crusades presented numerous opportunities for the Giovanni clan. The Crusades were a holy war, and the Giovanni, being devout in their own unique way, saw it as a chance to prove their righteousness to the world and to God. They offered logistical support, providing ships to transport knights to the Holy Land. Financially, the Crusades proved to be a boon for the Giovanni. The clan's businesses supplied and transported the armies, returned fallen pilgrims to their homes for a fee, and relayed communications between the Pope and the field marshals. Even the battlefields themselves offered opportunities for financial gain through the scavenging of precious rings from the fallen soldiers. By the end of the Crusades, the Giovanni's wealth had grown significantly, increasing as much as 10 to 15 times their previous value. Most importantly, the Giovanni's support of the Crusades won them a sympathetic ally in Rome and the Vatican. While they didn't control the church like the La Sombra, they did gain its blessing, which aligned with their own faith-based goals and their wish to keep the city-states free from feudal rule. The alliance with the church gave the Giovanni a significant political advantage, putting 2 out of the 3 major political power wielders, the rich and the church, in their corner. During the Renaissance, influenced possibly by remnants of Cappadocius's blood within him, Augustus Giovanni became engrossed in ancient Cappadocian literature about ascension to heaven. Upon in-depth study, Augustus deduced that the old scripts weren't about ascending to heaven, but about descending to the underworld. The ancient texts from various cultures hinted at manipulating the shroud, the barrier between the living and the dead. Augustus believed that by controlling this barrier, the Giovanni, who had mastery over ghosts, would have dominion over the underworld, becoming godlike amongst both spirits and the living. Instead of forcing his lineage to pursue this quest like Cappadocius did, Augustus let the Giovanni work towards the clan and family's success, believing that the more they prospered, the closer they'd come to achieving their ultimate goal, tearing down the shroud to usher in an endless night. However, the task wasn't straightforward. As they delved into necromantic texts, they realized that breaching the shroud would need an immense amount of spiritual energy, quantified as the souls of 100 million dead people. Gathering this number of souls would take immense time and patience, something only immortals could afford. When the Giovanni clan began speaking of invoking the endless night, other kindred instantly grew fearful, associating it with the apocalyptic prophecy of Gehenna. Despite the Giovanni's attempts to reassure them, mistrust grew, leading many clans to label the Giovanni as devil kindred. This misunderstanding regarding the Giovanni's intent, coupled with their controversial act of diablerizing their founder, led to increased hostility from other clans. Seeing this, Augustus decided to halt their recruitment and strategize for survival. The clan took a cue from the Tremere, who, upon becoming kindred in the 11th century, faced similar animosity. However, while the Tremere relied on their thaumaturgy and the disorganization of their opponents, the Giovanni chose a different path. They withdrew from the limelight, focusing on their internal affairs and stepping away from the conflicts, believing their newly anointed antediluvian status and self-reliance would ensure their survival amidst the kindred's ongoing jihad. Fearing a potential threat from the remaining Cappadocians, the Giovanni sought to counteract it. In the decades that followed, the Giovanni, who were referred to as Devil Kindred by other clans, agreed to stay out of kindred affairs forever, in an agreement known as the Promise of 1528. In the winter of that year, leading members of the Giovanni clan met with prominent elders from other clans. Despite reservations about meeting the so-called Devil Kindred, the kindred clans aimed to settle their differences. By the end of the 10-night conference, Claudius Giovanni agreed to a pact ensuring the Giovanni's non-interference in all kindred matters. The agreement, influenced by Rafael de Corazon, who was working on the foundation of the Camarilla, stipulated that every 13 years, a council of elders from the signing clans, excluding the Giovanni, would visit Venice for oversight. Surprisingly, Claudius quickly agreed, realizing this would provide a prime opportunity to keep an ear to the ground regarding kindred affairs and ensure the Giovanni's continued strategic positioning. The Camarilla saw this as a way to prevent another anarch revolt and isolate the Giovanni from other kindred. The Promise of 1528 resulted in the Camarilla's indirect approval of the genocide of the Cappadocians. After the Promise, the Giovanni set out to finish what they started, actively hunting and exterminating the original members of the Cappadocians. By the 19th century, the clan was believed to be all but extinct. Despite this, some Cappadocians survived by going into torpor, a death-like sleep or hiding. However, they are no real threat to the Giovanni. Many more would eventually meet their fate, either by starving in the underworld, being exposed to sunlight after being dug up by an archaeologist, or being discovered and killed for drawing attention to themselves. The Giovanni clan, unlike other vampire clans, operates with a combination of reverence for elders and a merit-based structure. After the Renaissance, they effectively set themselves up to be the most unified clan going into the future. They viewed the age of industry as particularly important, a time that has proven more lucrative for them than even the Renaissance. The modern era has made it easy for the Giovanni to increase their wealth and numbers. This was when they started seeing the newly made vampires, or neonates, as assets rather than luxuries. While other clans like the Ventru, Toreador, and Nosferatu would turn individuals into vampires for vanity or personal reasons, the Giovanni only did so if the individuals had the potential to help the clan reach their ultimate goal of the endless night. They recognized that elder members might not understand or be able to navigate the modern world, which is why they value having a mix of young and old within the clan, with every member having a role. Despite their internal treachery and issues, the Giovanni clan remained focused on their goal, a focus that they feel sets them apart from other clans who either never had a goal or have lost theirs along the way. The Giovanni not only understand they're playing a game, but are confident in their ability to win it, even using the rules to their advantage. The Giovanni clan, contrary to common belief, doesn't exclusively consist of former members of the mortal Giovanni family. Over their 1,000-year history, they have incorporated several other families into their ranks, notably the Dunsirn, Pisanob, and Milliners, as well as a few minor ones. These families were brought into the fold because they possessed something the Giovanni wanted. The Giovanni clan found it surprisingly easy to bring these families under their control by promising them wealth and immortality for their most promising members. Any concerns about who's in control tend to diminish in the face of such offers. This might seem hypocritical based on previous statements, but the Giovanni see hypocrisy as a luxury they can afford. The purpose of incorporating these other families is to help gather the massive number of souls the Giovanni need for their rituals, effectively outsourcing some of the dirty work to them. The Giovanni, in their journey towards mercantile dominance, also absorbed several smaller merchant families into their fold. This move not only helped expand their wealth and prosperity, but also introduced diverse forms of necromancy practiced by these families. The Della Passaglia, absorbed in the 1400s, provided the Giovanni their first foray into trade with the Orient, dealing in goods such as firearms, silks, tea, and opium. Recently, they have been studying the different forms of necromancy practiced by the kindred of the East. The Ghiberti were brought into the fold in the early 17th century during the lucrative triangle trade between the United States, West Africa, and the West Indies. They also studied the African concept of death, developed their own unique brand of necromancy, the Cenotaph Path, focused on tracking down and binding wraiths. The Puttanesca, a Sicilian family of criminals and thugs, were absorbed in the 1660s to perform the family's dirty work. Originating from the Sicilian mafia, they are known for their violent temper and propensity for vendetta. The Rossellini, who were proficient in necromancy even before encountering the Giovanni, were forced to swear fealty to Claudius Giovanni after provoking him. They have since proven as adept at necromancy as the Giovanni, albeit with a tendency to commit excessive atrocities in their necromantic practices. This leads us nicely into the topic of the Hecata. Quite a few years have now passed since the fateful family reunion, and I've had time to collect large amounts of information on the pasts of their predecessors. By piecing together prior occurrences, we can speculate on the unfolding events of the family reunion. Significant incidents predate this reunion, such as the emergence of the Second Inquisition, the assault on Giovanni strongholds by the surviving Cappadocians, and the enigmatic vanishing of the Giovanni leader, Augustus Giovanni. The latter's exact fate remains a mystery, but by the late 2010s, countless wraiths and specters, once under his dominion, roamed freely. This led many within the Giovanni to fear the worst. The family reunion refers to the coming together of various subgroups of necromancer vampires during a meeting. While we don't know the exact date, we can infer that it happened sometime after 2010 when Augustus disappeared. These groups, including the Giovanni clan, Samedi Harbingers, Cappadocians, and many others, have formed new alliances out of necessity and shared grievances against the older generation of vampires. They've been marginalized, overlooked, and in some cases directly betrayed by their elders. The family reunion was more than just a gathering. It was a deliberate elimination of certain powerful elders, settling age-old scores, occasionally with violence, and then facing the wrath of countless spirits who harbored resentment towards their necromantic keepers for centuries. The reunion signifies a consolidation of power among these younger vampires, leveraging the combined strengths and abilities of each group. They're banding together not only for mutual protection against threats, like the specters and the repercussions of Augustus's disappearance, but also to challenge and overthrow the established order of their elder counterparts. Since the family reunion, I have noted several peculiar changes within the bloodlines of the Hecata. To better explain these changes, one needs to understand that many of the bloodlines had distinct physical features about them. The Samedi resembled corpses, the Harbingers being faceless, Cappadocians bearing a ghostly appearance, and so on. However, some new children appear healthier, and their defining features have become less distinct, albeit having a painful bite instead of a pleasurable one, known as Lamia's kiss, a curse originally from the Giovanni bloodline, said to have derived from Augustus's Diablarie of the Methuselah Lamia. This not only makes our jobs as hunters more challenging, as being able to identify what you are facing is important to us. It also allows these kindred to better blend in with modern society as they appear less supernatural to mortals. Another change is the Hecata's unusual immunity to the Beckoning, a compelling force believed by many to herald Gehenna, a vampiric apocalypse. This force signifies the antediluvians summoning their kin. I have gathered and created several theories for this. One theory suggested by Hecata elders is that they are unaffected because they are one of the few clans with a truly dead antediluvian. Another posits that the clan has already had their own Beckoning during the Feast of Folly. I theorize that if Augustus still lives, he has no reason to call his children, as they already are pursuing his goal of the endless night without his aid. In any case, if Gehenna is unfolding, many Hecata seem to look for their antediluvian of their own free will. With the coming awakening of the antediluvians, having their own leader might be essential for the Hecata's survival. Among the 13 vampire clans, the Hecata distinguishes itself in a unique manner. Not only is it the sole independent clan, but it is also the most multifaceted, created from 10 bloodlines. Leading the Hecata are 3 predominant bloodlines. The Giovanni serve as the elite leaders, setting the direction and overseeing the clan's multifarious activities. In contrast, the Harbingers of Asher, also known as the Cappadocians, are powerful entities who employ their age-old talents to weaken and destabilize their adversaries. The Samedi, though not central to the clan's structure, play a pivotal role by providing counsel and ceremonial wisdom. Every bloodline is steeped in its own rich history and culture. While the Giovanni undeniably hold a significant sway in terms of influence within the clan, it's essential to recognize the inherent strength and presence each bloodline brings to the table. As a dedicated hunter, I've made it my mission to delve deep into the Hecata, uncovering the tales and mysteries of all 10 bloodlines. I'm eager to share these findings, offering a window into this complex clan. The Giovanni have long been a dominant force within the Clan of Death, often overshadowing their contemporaries. Their distinctive reputation is underpinned by their strong brand awareness, which has made them more publicly known than other clans, often dismissed as myths or legends. Numerically, they exert considerable influence within the Hecata. Post the significant purge, it's believed that a sizable portion, possibly half of the Hecata kindred, trace their lineage back to the Giovanni. However, these estimates might be conservative, highlighting the Giovanni's prominence even among the newcomers to the alliance. The family faced a substantial internal reshuffle after the absence of their key leader, Augustus. The once powerful weight of the Giovanni name saw a reduction in its traditional prestige. This shift led to a geographical pivot in their activities, turning towards major global financial centers like London and New York. As a result, those Giovanni based in Italy found themselves at the periphery of major clan decisions. Conversely, members operating closer to these financial hubs not only flourished but also cleverly intertwined their commercial ventures with the clan's core themes of death and decay. Augustus's leadership, once unchallenged, faced increasing scrutiny, especially from those in the clan's outer circles. To many, he appeared as an impediment to the clan's progress, leading to internal opposition and dissent. The subsequent strategic decision to remove Augustus and his close allies from power was rooted in the belief that this was essential for the clan's survival and to prevent potential disintegration. Post this internal restructuring, the Giovanni are now laser-focused on integrating their new members and assigning them roles. Their unique status, wherein they aren't at war with any other clan, positions them favorably. This peace, juxtaposed with the ongoing wars among other clans, offers lucrative opportunities. The Giovanni are keen to leverage these, tasking their trusted members to find profitable ventures. However, this expansion isn't without its challenges, as members are constantly reminded to guard against potential betrayals. The clan's guiding principles remain clear. They prioritize their reputation within the kindred society, ensuring their word is seen as sacrosanct. They've always stood for promises kept, neutrality unless directly provoked, and trust. Additionally, the clan remains deeply invested in their long-standing mission surrounding themes of decay, renewal, and pondering broader existential questions about the universe's fate and their role within it. The Giovanni possess a range of unique abilities that set them apart. With their deep-rooted familial connections, they can readily seek counsel or information from fellow Giovanni, though they must be willing to share insights in return. Furthermore, their ties to their mortal kin mean they can call upon favors from them when needed. Despite the evolving dynamics of the Hecata clan, the Giovanni still hold a certain charm and influence, especially when interacting with other Hecata members, ghouls, or retainers. Financially, many of the Giovanni are privileged, having access to substantial wealth and resources handed down or allocated by their elders. However, they must be cautious, as crossing the elder Giovanni could see these privileges revoked. One of the most intriguing powers is their connection to the spectral realm, with some Giovanni having inherited spectral servants who loyally serve them. Furthermore, their shrewd political maneuvering during key clan events has earned them significant respect and status within the Hecata. This has even granted them the honor of private audiences with the enigmatic figure known as the Capuchin on occasion. In all my years confronting the creatures of the night, the Giovanni remain among the most insidious. Their mastery over death, both figuratively in the kindred society and literally with their necromantic abilities, poses a distinct threat. If you seek to challenge them, you must first understand their depth of familial ties and the financial behemoths they control. To combat the Giovanni, one must not only come armed with physical might, but also a strategy to dismantle their vast networks. Do your research, track their financial endeavors, especially in global hubs like London and New York. It's in these nerve centers that they're most vulnerable, where their business and supernatural affairs often intersect. Secure alliances with those who also oppose them, even if it means negotiating with other, lesser evils. Knowledge of their internal dynamics post-Augustus can be exploited. Old loyalties can be shaky. Most critically, always be wary of the dead when confronting a Giovanni. Their spectral servants are ever watchful and fiercely loyal. One can't merely storm their havens and expect not to face retribution from both the living and the dead. If you can, get a medium or someone sensitive to the spectral realm on your side. In this fight, intelligence and strategy are as vital as any stake or firearm. The Harbingers, originally known as Cappadocians, are a deeply historical and complex subset within the Hecata, holding significant mastery over the themes of death and manipulation. Their survival isn't owed to power, but rather strategic evolutions and cunning maneuverings throughout history. Historically rooted in causing large-scale chaos indirectly, such as plagues and mass murders, they effectively altered political terrains without direct implications. While seemingly disorganized in the past, they maintained an organized structure, transitioning from philosophical entities to guilds over time. Post their exile in the underworld, the Harbingers, driven by vengeance against both the Camarilla and the Giovanni, strategized their return. The family reunion marked an aggressive move against the Giovanni, even co-opting young Giovanni members. The contemporary times find Harbingers weaving into the broader Hecata clan fabric, their historical prowess in political subterfuge and stealth operations more relevant than ever. They maintain a distinct modus operandi, focusing on subtlety, in contrast to the more direct and known tactics of the Giovanni. Their intricate knowledge and ability to stay under the radar make them formidable assets in kindred politics. By assuming roles as advisors or agitators, they infiltrate vampire courts, leveraging their obscured past and alliances. Their mission is to gather intel, instigate conflicts subtly, and remain hidden. Inside the Hecata, the clan's multifaceted nature provides strength, with the Harbingers positioning themselves as influential advisors to the Giovanni, fostering a renewed focus on unity and cohesion within the clan. While navigating relationships with other factions, such as the Samedi, the Harbingers emphasize mutual respect. Their age-old traditions and hierarchies, replete with Latin or Greek terminologies and symbolic masks, sometimes create challenges for newer members, leading to potential internal rifts. Bridging this gap involves pairing new Harbingers with younger members from related clans, promoting inter-clan camaraderie and mutual growth. The Harbingers possess a set of distinctive capabilities symbolized by various masks. The Ashen Mask allows a Harbinger to form a deep connection with a corpse that they meticulously study and maintain. This corpse is sacred to them, and only suffers damage if someone, other than the Harbinger, interferes with it or causes it to decay beyond recognition. With the Gold Mask, the Harbinger becomes a master of subterfuge. They can expertly conceal their deeds, and even those of their allies, particularly when trying to obscure the cause of a death. Wearing the White Mask signifies the Harbinger's esteemed position within their bloodline. They command significant respect and have an uncanny ability to influence and negotiate not just with fellow Harbingers, but also with other members of the Hecata clan. The Obsidian Mask reveals a profound secret. The Harbinger is not truly a vampire, but a spirit occupying a vampire's form. This unique state grants them innate knowledge of certain arcane rituals, and they are especially resistant to attempts to control their will. However, this same spectral nature also makes them susceptible to ceremonies targeting their ghostly essence. Finally, the Lazarine Mask reflects the Harbinger's understanding of their bloodline's core mission. They believe that the Harbingers of Skulls seek to purge not just the Giovanni, but all clans associated with death. Because of this belief, they feel no moral qualms or remorse about ending the lives of other Hecata members or their servants. When we face the Harbingers, our methodology must be as intricate and thought out as their own modus operandi. Never underestimate them. Their historical knack for political subterfuge makes them excellent at misdirection. While they expertly alter political terrains, we must combat them by anticipating their moves. Monitoring anyone showing significant influence in kindred politics, particularly new advisors or agitators, can unveil a Harbinger at work. Their masks are their Achilles' heel. If one can identify a Harbinger through their mask, especially one wearing the obsidian, you'll have the upper hand. These spirits occupying a vampiric form are vulnerable to rites and ceremonies aimed at their spectral nature. One must be cautious, however. Direct confrontation is not always advised. Instead, subtle undermining of their alliances and manipulations might be more effective. The Lazarine Mask bearers, with their fanatical beliefs, can be turned against their own kin. Use that. Always remember, we do not only battle the vampire's bite, but their wit, their history, and their dogged purpose. The Harbingers claim to represent all Cappadocians, suggesting the Clan of Death has either evolved or united with formerly Sabbat factions. However, this is not entirely accurate. Many Cappadocians exist separately from the Harbingers, appearing as ancient, reclusive figures with outdated necromantic practices. While they may seem out of touch with modern knights, underestimating them might be a grave error. These vampires, despite their seeming frailty, retain their intelligence, skills in necromancy, and may even have plans against the Hecata or the Camarilla. There's speculation about their possible involvement in Augustus's disappearance. Furthermore, when these Cappadocians embrace, they heavily train their progeny, mirroring the diligence of the Harbingers. Their presence within the ivory tower is growing, and many seem to think that they and the Harbingers are virtually the same. The Samedi's shift to being identified under the Hecata umbrella has been received with mixed feelings. There's acceptance, but also a palpable sense of nostalgia for their unique traits, notably their commitment to honoring offerings made in good faith. Historically, this reliability transformed them into sought-after mercenaries. With the introduction of the new kiss, there's anticipation around the continuance of their customary practices, but political dynamics hold a significant spotlight. Within the broader clan structure, the Giovanni, with their luxurious European inclinations, are notorious for their iron-fisted approach to power. With the departure of their patriarch Augustus, they seem directionless, still considering themselves the Hecata's primary constituents, with the Harbingers merely being consultants. The Harbingers, carrying their history of mistreatment, are seemingly motivated by vendettas. A counterbalancing act is essential. When one faction goes to extremes, the other should work to restore balance, underscoring the importance of the triumvirate. The Samedi possess a range of peculiar and eerie talents. One of their uncanny abilities allows them to instantly ascertain how a mortal met their demise with just a brief examination. They also hold the chilling capability to transform their appearance to resemble that of a corpse, making them nearly indistinguishable from the dead. Furthermore, the Samedi are incredibly resilient, especially when faced with physical impairments, managing to persist against odds that would debilitate others. Their relationships aren't limited to their own kind. They have established close ties with the ministry, allowing them to tap into various resources or favors when needed. Moreover, some Samedi are particularly favored and are seen as successors to the enigmatic figure known as the Doc, receiving guidance, albeit in cryptic forms, from powerful entities. The Samedi, while they may appear to be a mere footnote in the larger kindred narrative, present a very unique set of challenges for us hunters. To truly counter them, one must first grasp their nuanced characteristics. To exploit these connections, hunters should deeply immerse themselves in understanding Vodou's rituals, ceremonies, and the specific deities invoked. This isn't just a weapon, it's a shield. Any misstep due to ignorance can be costly. Moreover, be wary of their alliances, notably their relationship with the ministry. Information is paramount. The more you know about their current dealings, the better. Also, their resilience makes it essential to strike decisively and with overwhelming force. Indecision or half measures will result in failure. And finally, the Samedi's sense of honor and their historical role as mercenaries means that they can sometimes be bargained with, but only if approached with genuine respect and offers made in absolute good faith. The Gorgons, once recognized as the bodyguards of death and composed only of males, boasted of their discovery of how blood humors could influence a vampire. Originating from the vampire Lazarus's Lamia, they had gained significant status. However, their legacy came to an end when the Giovanni eradicated them, leading to their absence for over 200 years. The mystery lies in their sudden reappearance. This can be credited to the power of Vitae and Lazarus, who, before his mysterious disappearance, embraced a high priestess of the Bahari. This embrace led to the birth of a new generation of Lamia. These new members, however, are not the unquestioning bodyguards of the past. They are guided by their founder, who is said to communicate with Lamia's spirit. Lamia has imparted a mission upon them, to stand strong and resist those aiming to dominate them. While they do not oppose other Hecata, they often confront and act against the authoritative Camarilla. The Gorgons' philosophy now hinges on the concept of rebirth, diverging from the typical necromancer's obsession with decay. They believe in constant evolution to avoid stagnation. There's a hint that an alliance might be on the horizon, an alliance that includes the Anarchs, House Karna, the Lamia, and the Bahari. This coalition could potentially align with the visions of Lazarus, and be beneficial to the Hecata as well. The Lamia harbor distinctive abilities. They wield the Serpent's Kiss, a power that allows them to infuse their bite with a virulent disease, debilitating their mortal prey for a few nights. Embodying their original role as guardians, the Lamia are particularly adept in close combat when defending their allies or coterie members. Moreover, they have mastery over the ancient concept of the four humors. With a mere touch, they can send a victim into a fit of lethargy, obsession with death, profuse bleeding, or severe poisoning. Their deep connection to their inner beast gives the Lamia an unusual level of control in frenzied situations, allowing them to prevent unwanted outbursts. Most notably, some Lamia possess the Medusa's gaze, a powerful look that, with intense focus, can paralyze an opponent in their tracks for a short duration. With the re-emergence of the Lamia, one must recalibrate the approach we employ against these ancient creatures. Their newly evolved ideology and heightened abilities demand refined strategies. First and foremost, distance is our ally. Getting close puts us at risk of their Serpent's Kiss and their aptitude for hand-to-hand combat. Ranged weapons, crossbows, and firearms, preferably loaded with sanctified or otherwise specialized ammunition, are the tools of choice. Equally crucial is to engage them in well-lit spaces, deprive them of shadows and dark corners, lest they capitalize on their mastery over the four humors. Keep your eyes shielded or diverted. Those with the Medusa's gaze can paralyze with a mere focused glance. Should any among your number be affected by their powers, separate the afflicted from the field of battle post-haste. Time and detoxification rituals are often our best remedy. They are adaptable creatures, and so must we. The Nagaraja are a mysterious group of flesh-eating vampires. Their association with the Hecata is minimal, with only occasional exchanges of secrets. Predominantly found in Asia, especially in regions where the Giovanni and Harbingers have limited influence. They often clash with the Hecata over feeding territories such as grave sites and hospitals. Known for their terror-inducing presence, the Nagaraja are formidable to mortals, vampires, and wraiths. Their potentially protective or gatekeeping roles around the weak points of the shroud, which divides the living from the dead, is noted, as is their strategy of using spectral beings or instilling fear of a lurking serial killer to claim territories. Unlike other vampires, the Nagaraja cannot hide their terrifying appearance. Some have shark-like teeth, while others sport needle-like fangs. This gruesome appearance, coupled with their tendency to consume their victims, makes them rare in Camarilla and Anarch territories. When viewed from a mortal's perspective, while some lines of the Hecata can be somewhat understood due to their human-like traits, the Nagaraja stand out as monstrous and incomprehensible. Embracing a mortal into this line likely results in a rapid loss of humanity, given their beastly nature and their obligation to eat their victims. Dealing with a Nagaraja is highly dangerous, and one is advised to approach them with extreme caution and backup. The Nagaraja are a distinct breed among the kindred, with several unique abilities. Rather than the traditional consumption of blood, they satiate their hunger by consuming the flesh of living mortals or freshly deceased bodies. Furthermore, they have a mysterious connection with the spirit realm, allowing them to become invisible to spirits and ghosts. When it comes to planning a cold-blooded assassination, their prowess is unmatched. Given adequate time to prepare, their execution is nearly flawless. However, this deadly precision can be countered by those who are adept at deciphering the patterns of killers. This ties into another of their abilities. The Nagaraja excel at tracking and studying murderers. Their network includes contacts within law enforcement and among kindred investigators, and they are often consulted for their insights into heinous crimes. Lastly, when the need arises, they can showcase a fearsome appearance. Their teeth can elongate into terrifyingly sharp and jagged daggers, intensifying their predatory and intimidating presence. To confront the Nagaraja, one must first understand the juxtaposition of their ferocity and sophistication. They are not mere brutes. They wield unparalleled cunning. Hence, stealth and preparation are paramount. Avoid direct confrontations, for their fearsome appearance and unmatched predatory prowess can unnerve even the most seasoned among us. Familiarize yourself with their feeding grounds and use this to predict and trap them. Their connection to the spirit realm is a double-edged sword. Employ individuals with mediumistic abilities to sense these blind spots and exploit them. But remember, these creatures are master assassins. Their patterns intricate and deliberate. Those among us with a keen mind for profiling and detective work can turn the game back on them. Above all, ensure that when you strike, you do so with overwhelming force and, if possible, from a distance. Direct engagements are rarely favorable. The Nagaraja are not invincible, but facing them requires finesse, patience, and an iron will. The first major family that the Giovanni incorporated was the Dunsirn, a wealthy clan of Scottish bankers in the early 1700s. The Dunsirn controlled several shipping ventures to the English colonies in North America, making them attractive to the Giovanni, who were looking to gain entry into the growing markets of the New World. The Dunsirn had also been lending money for centuries, which meant they held favors throughout the United Kingdom and Ireland. However, the Dunsirn had a dark secret. They were cannibals. One member of the family had developed a taste for human flesh hundreds of years prior, and after being disowned and banished, had established his own cannibal family. This family eventually overtook the rest of the Dunsirn, killing and eating them, and took over the family business. The cannibalism, rather than being a deterrent, intrigued Augustus Giovanni, as he valued people who could keep secrets. For many years, the dynamic was straightforward. The Dunsirn managed and multiplied the wealth, while the Giovanni extravagantly spent it. After the family reunion event, the Dunsirn have largely returned to their financial strengths without the direct oversight of the Giovanni. The Dunsirn have masterfully harnessed the power of wealth, making it an intricate part of their identity and influence. They've utilized their family's vast resources to craft alternate identities for themselves, seamlessly blending into society and evading unwanted attention. The Dunsirn have also mastered the art of buying intelligence, tapping into vast networks of contacts to extract valuable information whenever needed. When it comes to their possessions, the Dunsirn always ensure they are of the highest quality, often resulting in enhanced performance when utilizing their personal equipment. Many within the family have a knack for banking and investment, further amplifying their considerable resources. This financial prowess not only benefits them, but also those closely associated with them, as they can alleviate financial burdens or grant benefits. At the pinnacle of the family's hierarchy, those who oversee the entire family's financial accounts wield immense influence. They enjoy an elevated status within the Hecata, and have the power to significantly impact the resources of every Hecata member, for better or worse. The Dunsirn, with their insidious blend of wealth and darkness, quite the difficult foe. Their power isn't merely drawn from ancient pacts or supernatural strength. It's entangled within the very veins of society, built on centuries of financial maneuvering. To effectively combat them, one cannot rely solely on physical prowess or traditional methods. It's imperative to dismantle their intelligence networks first, penetrate their vast web of contacts, neutralize their primary informants, and obfuscate your own movements and intentions. Counterintelligence and misinformation are your best weapons. Economic disruptions, especially those targeting their primary assets, can cripple them and limit their resources. But be wary. Approach with caution. Direct confrontations are ill-advised. Instead, slowly bleed them dry, severing their access to funds and eroding their societal standing. Remember, they've mastered the game of shadows for centuries. To defeat them, we must play a deeper and even more intricate game. In the early 16th century, a few Giovanni opportunists accompanied Hernando Cortés on his expedition from Cuba to investigate rumors of a rich empire in Mexico. This led them to the Aztec Empire and its capital, Tenochtitlan. There, they discovered a highly formalized practice of necromancy which impressed them. However, the conquistadors, who were terrified by this unfamiliar culture, proceeded to massacre the Aztecs and plunder their possessions. The Giovanni noticed trouble brewing in the Aztec underworld due to the presence of European spirits that had tagged along with Cortez's expedition. These spirits began enslaving the Aztec wraiths, leading to massive destruction of souls and a subsequent maelstrom. Seeing the potential loss of considerable necromantic talent, the Giovanni in Tenochtitlan requested permission from their clan leaders to embrace some of the Aztec priests. The leaders agreed, and the priests, who referred to themselves as Pisanob, a Mayan term for ghosts of the dead that walked the earth, were brought into the fold. Upon reflection, the Giovanni realized that the history of the Aztecs mirrored their own. Both groups had been refugees forced to move to a new homeland. Both settled in harsh, watery areas and built grand cities with intricate canal systems. Venice for the Giovanni, Tenochtitlan for the Pisanob. And both used the dark arts of necromancy to empower themselves, only to find that power insufficient during devastating spirit storms in the underworld. Their leader, Poctli, managed the Pisanob until the family reunion. They faced significant threats from the Harbingers of Skulls for unknown reasons, reducing their numbers. Poctli ultimately sacrificed himself to the Harbingers to end the conflicts. Now, the remaining Pisanob are in search of new leadership and are plotting revenge. The Pisanob are adept at the art of concealment, mastering the ability to blend seamlessly into their surroundings, making them nearly undetectable by both adversaries and allies alike. Additionally, they have a keen understanding of the family's necromantic intricacies, demonstrating a heightened sensitivity and prowess when dealing with ghostly entities. Their meticulous nature and habit of strategic foresight often prove beneficial, especially when plotting against fellow Hecata. This prowess is amplified when their schemes are targeted at the enigmatic Harbingers of Skulls. Furthermore, the Pisanob are exceptionally talented in oblivion ceremonies, displaying an uncanny proficiency, especially in rituals related to necromancy. Signifying their importance within the family, many Pisanob hold esteemed positions of authority and influence within the Hecata, often being seen as leaders and key decision-makers. This elevated status also grants them a trusted confidant among the venerable Anciani, providing counsel and support in crucial matters. If you're intent on combating, the Pisanob conventional methods won't suffice. They're masters of concealment and experts in the necromantic arts. They can blend into their surroundings, rendering themselves nearly invisible to both mortal and supernatural detection. Their attunement to the realm of the dead grants them not only spectral allies, but also access to oblivion ceremonies that can wreak unimaginable havoc. First, invest in countermeasures against necromancy. You'll want protective charms or talismans if you can find a trustworthy practitioner to craft them. Work with a group if possible. Their strength often lies in outmaneuvering a lone adversary. The Pisanob trust few, but they do hold counsel with the Anziani, the clan's elders. If you could turn or leverage one of those aged vampires for information, you'd be ahead of the game. Lastly, consider allying temporarily with their supernatural enemies, such as the Harbingers of Skulls. Both share a mutual loathing, and enemy of my enemy logic could apply here. The Milliners, led by Francis Milliner, were known for their exceptional grudge-holding capabilities. The feud began in the early 20th century in Boston, Massachusetts, at the Columbia Trust Company. Francis was poised to become the company's president after P.J. Kennedy retired, but he was overlooked in favor of Joe Kennedy due to nepotism. This snub ignited Francis's resentment against the Kennedys. Using his connections among the old money families of New England and the Italian immigrant population in New York, notably with Andreas Giovanni, Francis began undermining the Kennedys' financial base. He even bought the Kennedy estate, forcing the family to pay rent to him. The Kennedys faced a series of tragedies, including assassinations, a scandal, a drug overdose, a sexual assault case, a ski mishap, and an accidental plane crash. While there's no concrete evidence tying Francis or his family to these misfortunes, he has a display of 6 skulls in his study, the dates of acquisition coinciding with each Kennedy mishap. Impressed by Francis's determination and grudge-holding capacity, Augustus Giovanni brought the Milliners into the fold in the mid-1950s. The Milliners have since proven to be valuable allies to the Giovanni, particularly in their takeover of Boston. Much like the Dunsirn, the Milliners are more focused on making money than practicing necromancy. They have modernized the Giovanni's criminal involvement, particularly by investing in privatized prisons thereby ensuring a steady income and workforce. However, the Milliners' consistent achievements have raised expectations. Following the Sixth Maelstrom's negative impact on the clan, the Anziani increased demands on the Milliners, leading to tensions, especially after Francis Milliner faced public repercussions from Anziano Diego Giovanni, including limited permissions for new embraces. This has further strained their relationship with the primary Giovanni family. The Milliners hold significant sway and influence, both within and outside the borders of the United States. Their esteemed legacy allows them to command respect and leverage situations in their favor when invoking their prestigious lineage. This family's vast wealth is a well-known fact, yet any member seeking to tap into this fortune must be prepared to repay, either with monetary compensation, a blood favor, or through labor. This debt is expected to be settled promptly, and the nature of the favor or its consequences is determined by the family's matriarchs and patriarchs. One of the defining characteristics of the Milliners is their ability to hold deep-seated grudges. When wronged or outmaneuvered by another, they are known to meticulously plan and execute their revenge, ensuring they are not only avenged, but also regain their standing. This unyielding vendetta spirit can lead them to pursue multiple adversaries simultaneously, driven by their unwavering resolve. The Milliners' reputation isn't solely built on wealth and vendettas. Their knack for collecting debts is equally legendary. In critical moments, they can remind an individual of a past favor, insisting on its immediate repayment. This often places the debtor in an uncomfortable position, compelling them to act in the Milliners' best interest. Furthermore, the Milliners have always been adept at forging strategic alliances, especially with law enforcement. Historically, these connections have shielded them from threats, notably those from vampire hunters. Even in contemporary times, when such alliances are more challenging to maintain, the Milliners possess invaluable information that allows them to redirect potential threats onto their adversaries. However, these maneuvers don't go unnoticed, and those targeted can often trace back the source of their misfortune to the Milliners. The Milliners represent a unique confluence of old-world vendettas and New Age influence. Their entrenchment within society's higher echelons offers them a shield of respectability, making direct confrontation a rather precarious endeavor. Their strength isn't merely in their wealth, but in the webs of obligation they've woven, turning acquaintances into unwilling accomplices. To dismantle such an empire, subtlety and finesse are paramount. It is essential to appreciate that while their capacity for grudges is boundless, it's also their most glaring vulnerability. They are ensnared in a maze of their own making, blinded by vendettas that can be used to set them on a path of our design. We must orchestrate situations where they are compelled to act against their better judgment. Furthermore, while their influence within the corridors of law enforcement is noteworthy, we too have our assets, some within the very institutions they believe they control. The witch hunters, whom they've marked, could prove invaluable if approached correctly. Our strategy should be a tapestry of intelligence, psychological warfare, and forging clandestine alliances, and always, discretion should be our watchword. Remember, the Milliners dread public ignominy, perhaps more so than any traditional threat we might muster. Let us weaponize their pride, for in their arrogance lies their undoing. Our task is to chart the course for their self-destruction, guiding them to it with a gentleman's touch and a strategist's mind. The Puttanesca is a bloodline within the Hecata clan, previously linked as a minor family to the Giovanni clan. Originating from Sicily, the Puttanesca are often associated with low-tier criminal activities, such as thuggery and connections to the mafia. The Giovanni incorporated them in the 1660s, utilizing them for their dirty work, due to their aggressive nature and familiarity with vendettas. Despite being detached from necromancy, their short temper makes them valuable assets against enemies. The Giovanni strategically isolated their direct ties to organized crime by establishing the Puttanesca as a distinct bloodline during the family reunion. The Puttanesca are deeply embedded in the streets, boasting a vast network of allies and resources that shift and adapt depending on the situation at hand. However, their close ties to the criminal underworld often make them targets for law enforcement. Their unique ability to appear non-threatening allows them to navigate complex situations and disarm potential threats, often convincing others to hold back their aggression. But when the need arises, they can be formidable, showcasing their raw power and intimidating presence, especially when dealing with mortals. Every so often, the Puttanesca rally their allies for a show of force or to settle disputes, drawing in both their vampiric kin and mortal associates. Their prowess is recognized not just within their bloodline, but extends throughout the Hecata, earning them immense influence, status, and resources in the criminal world. However, such prominence inevitably attracts attention, and they must constantly navigate the delicate balance of power while avoiding the prying eyes of law enforcement. The Puttanesca are not mere ruffians to be trifled with. You might be swayed into thinking they are simple street thugs, but that would be a fatal mistake. They are adept at misdirection, skilled in the arts of diplomacy just as much as violence. The key to confronting them directly is to fracture their network. They draw power from their vast connections, both mortal and kindred. Disrupt these, and you weaken the entire bloodline. Ensure you have resources to monitor their communications. Tap into their channels, intercept messages, and feed them misinformation. Additionally, when you confront them, never do so alone. Their mastery at turning a situation in their favor when seemingly overpowered is uncanny. Always have backup, preferably those skilled in mental fortitude, to resist their manipulations. Remember, their strength is in their network and their ability to play both the game of subterfuge and of raw force. Strip them of their allies, and you strip them of their power. But be warned, direct confrontation should be your last resort. Their retaliation will be swift and merciless. The Little Siblings, once known as Rossellini, and sometimes referred to as the Piccoli Fratellini by the core clan, are an Italian-origin bloodline within the Hecata clan. They have deep roots in Venice and practiced necromancy alongside the Giovanni. During the Middle Ages, they were considered superior necromancers to the Giovanni, with many members also skilled in sorcery. Despite their talents, the Rossellini were perceived as unstable. After an aggressive encounter with Claudius Giovanni in the 16th century, they were forced to pledge loyalty to the Giovanni. The Rossellini are particularly notorious for their extreme cruelty towards their wraith servants, surpassing even the tough standards of the Giovanni. They practice necromancy more out of passion than for power. This has led to disastrous consequences, as many Rossellini were destroyed when the wraiths they tormented transformed into vengeful specters after the sixth maelstrom. The intricate relationship with the world of the dead has endowed certain individuals with remarkable abilities. Those with a grave attitude possess an unyielding confidence rooted in their understanding of the ephemeral nature of even the undead. This unwavering mindset often leaves those trying to intimidate or manipulate them faltering. Further, some have a unique dominion over wraiths, known as ghostly dominance. If they were to harm a wraith's connection to the material world, they find it much easier to command these ethereal entities. There are also those with a deep understanding and proficiency in the dark arts of necromancy, making them experts in performing rites of oblivion. Their necromantic expertise allows them to execute these rituals with an ease unmatched by others. Then there are the few with the ability called stolen will. By inflicting harm upon the material manifestations linked to a ghost, they can extract a viscous substance, consuming which rejuvenates their spirit and resolve. This very act speaks volumes of the dominion over the departed. Lastly, there are those gifted with the power to purge. They wield a fearsome ability to harm ghosts, causing grievous wounds even when these spirits are beyond the reach of others. Their attacks are lethal, even in realms where the spirits should be safe, demonstrating an unmatched mastery over the realm of the dead. The Rossellini are not to be trifled with lightly. Their intimacy with the world beyond is unparalleled, their skills in necromancy unrivaled by any within the Hecata. Your conventional means of combat will fall short when pitted against their grave attitude. Understand that their conviction stems from an unyielding bond with the ephemeral. To truly tackle them, you must first disrupt their dominion over wraiths. If you come across one with the stolen will ability, ensure they do not harm material manifestations. By doing so, you limit their capacity to rejuvenate. For those wielding the power to purge, I would advise maintaining distance, for they can strike spirits even in the safest of realms. Always remember, knowledge is our greatest weapon against them. Study their practices, exploit their obsession with the dead, and above all, never let your guard down in their presence. The Rossellini's power comes from their dominion over death. To defeat them, one must challenge that very dominion. Kindred of Clan Giovanni have historically maintained a unique hierarchical structure. As the remnants of the Clan of Death came together to form the Hecata, this Giovanni structure naturally became the foundation for this newly united clan. The Clan of Death's other branches lacked such organization, so the Giovanni system was seen as essential for cohesion. As the Giovanni outnumbered other factions, their structure was chosen during the unification process. While some non-Giovanni members felt that this new system impinged upon their previous freedoms, many others welcomed it, valuing the safety and improved lifestyle that the Giovanni traditions brought. For the Giovanni, this wasn't about abandoning their old ways, but about upholding traditions deeply rooted in family ties that extended beyond the vampire bonds, focusing both on lineage and siring. Unlike the Camarilla, the Giovanni hierarchy is determined not by regional dominance, but by control over the clan's influence in a given area. This influence is shaped by directives from key figures like the Capuchin, the 1444 Chamber, and the Council of Anziani. The titles within this hierarchy vary among different Hecata families and regions. Some, like the Puttanesca, maintain terms from their criminal background like Don or Soldato, while others adopt regional variations. At the core of the Giovanni hierarchy are those dedicated to the clan's ultimate purpose, the study of the cycles of death and renewal, and the mastery of necromancy. The Giovanni clan deeply values trust and loyalty, due to the many dark secrets they harbor, with some even having literal skeletons. This clan isn't merely a group of kindred connected by blood, but represents a rich culture rooted in ancient traditions that predates modern nation-states and even the rise of Augustus Giovanni. New members of the Hecata, particularly those embraced into the Giovanni lineage, often have long-standing connections with their sires. These connections can span lifetimes, as the very vampires who transformed them may have been pivotal figures in their pasts. As a result, they often retain familial titles like mother, uncle, and nephew, denoting both their blood ties and their relationship within the clan. The children, or offspring, within the Giovanni clan are seen as extensions of their sires and the lineage that birthed them. This unique perspective has been gradually adopted by other Hecata bloodlines as well. However, those embraced from outside the close-knit Giovanni culture, unfamiliar with its intricate customs, often face skepticism regarding their loyalty and competence. Such individuals usually find themselves in subordinate roles or serving specific limited purposes for the main family, reflecting the clan's deep emphasis on heritage and lineage. Originally, the Giovanni clan exclusively embraced members from within their own family. However, over time, they expanded their horizons, incorporating various influential families from around the world. Each of these families, having been integrated with the Giovanni through their vitae, expanded their influence in both the mortal and kindred domains. As the once dominant grip of the Giovanni family loosened, the leadership at the top became more diverse. A newer generation of families from across the world is even being considered for integration into the rejuvenated Hecata. Behind the scenes, the Hecata at large pride themselves on their upcoming generation. Like ancient powerhouses seeking to fortify their influence, the Hecata barter their offspring, offering them for embrace to seal alliances, thereby ensuring eternal familial loyalty. With their former enemies now allies, the Hecata reference this as expanding the gene pool. Meeting a member of the Clan of Death now might mean interacting with a variety of surnames, not just the traditional Giovanni or Rossellini. Some clan members even adopt names like Cappadocius or Di Cappadocian, Nevertheless, to the external world, the Hecata maintain an image of unity and consistency, insisting that this diverse integration has always been the norm, only unnoticed by the unobservant. Coteries within the Hecata are not just formed out of necessity or safety, but are deeply rooted in age-old friendships, lineage ties, and direct family bonds. The Giovanni, given their extensive history of inbreeding and interbreeding, have created a scenario where almost every member is related by blood to another. This makes the Giovanni uniquely positioned within the Hecata. They are the most numerous and hold significant temporal power and wealth. They serve as the connective tissue for the Hecata, offering a veil of legitimacy behind which darker activities of the clan are conducted. The Giovanni, as a rule, are cautious in their associations, preferring internal alignments over external ones unless there's a specific advantage to be gained. When they do offer protection or other services to outsiders, it's typically transactional, and loyalty is often ensured through a blood bond. However, adhering to their traditional code of omerta, the Giovanni are strictly forbidden from entering into blood bonds themselves or sharing their most sacred clan secrets with those outside the family. The Hecata Anziani, or Elders, are a group of powerful, cunning, and often bitter vampire leaders, similar to kindred elders around the world. While the Anziani are almost exclusively Giovanni, there have been exceptions, and as time goes on, more non-Giovanni Hecata have been given the title. They have a specific interest in breaking down the barrier between life and death, known as the Shroud or Sudario, and initiating the Endless Night. They believe they need 100 million souls to achieve this, and by 1999 they had managed to collect almost 28 million. Many of the Anziani reside in the Mausoleum of the Giovanni in Venice, but some have moved to various locations worldwide to oversee clan activities. Communication among the Anziani has modernized over time, with some now using telephones and televisions for minor matters, but they still prefer personal messengers for important messages. Their plans were heavily disrupted when the realm of the dead experienced a massive upheaval, often referred to as the Maelstrom. This event destroyed a large number of the souls they had collected and weakened the Sudario. The Hecata is not sure who is to blame for this event, but they suspect mortal necromancers, kindred cultists, or the spirits themselves. Following the Maelstrom, many of the spirits that escaped have transformed into vengeful entities, known as specters, determined to punish the Hecata. This has further strained the clan's resources and left them far from their ultimate goal. Despite the setback, the Anziani remain committed to achieving the Endless Night. Augustus Giovanni, after decades of inactivity, personally helped defend the mausoleum during the Maelstrom. He subsequently left to investigate the state of the underworld and the ongoing storm, leaving the Anziani unsure of his location and awaiting his return. Within the Clan of Death, the Anziani Council are a revered group of elders who play a pivotal role in determining the clan's direction. Originally, this elite council was made up of those who significantly contributed to the Giovanni family's grand vision. However, over time, its scope expanded to include the leadership of the entire Hecata family. Though the council consists of various groups and influence pockets, they are bound by a rule against open conflict amongst themselves. What sets the Hecata apart from other clans is their unwavering unity and purpose. Even though their objectives might have diverged at times, they have always remained aligned with the core teachings of the Clan of Death. The local dons, even with their vast wealth and power, can only aspire to achieve a fraction of the influence that the Anziani wield within the Giovanni and broader Clan of Death. Some cautious Anziani, known as Anziani Prudente, while acknowledging the devastating loss caused by the Maelstrom, also see some advantages in the aftermath. Despite losing the majority of their enslaved spirits, the weakening of the Sudario, or barrier between the world of the living and the dead, means they may need fewer souls for their ritual. Moreover, many spirits were blasted into mundane people, places, and things, creating makeshift chains, katain, that can be used to control them. This might allow for quicker collection of souls than in calmer times. In the chaos following the Maelstrom, the Hecata can seize powerful spirits from the underworld with less caution, as the typical protections have been disrupted. Organized groups like the Pisanob can imprison these spirits one at a time, exploiting the chaotic state of the spirit world. Additionally, the disruption has led to a breakdown of the underworld's rules against ghosts acting in the physical world, creating opportunities for the Hecata to act with less discretion and find spirits more easily. To capitalize on this situation, the Hecata have moved into certain businesses, such as Compagnie Ergonomica in Europe and Dunsirn Ergonic Consultants in the US. These businesses provide both contacts and cover for their operations. They respond to complaints of paranormal activity and use these opportunities to capture ghosts while also charging the clients for their services. Some spirits have attached themselves to people rather than places. But the Hecata have a solution for this too, as they've been involved in healthcare for a long time. People who start hearing voices or seeing apparitions are likely to seek mental health services, where the Hecata can medicate them, capture the attached spirits, and explain any residual memories of the necromantic rituals as delusions or hallucinations. Some Hecata elders, known as the Anziani Appassionati, are more critical about the loss of effort and resources due to the maelstrom. These elders accuse others of merely wanting to pursue the endless night rather than truly achieve it. They believe that the temporary anchors of spirits, while helpful, are not a sustainable solution because they'll eventually be harvested, broken by exorcists, or lost to the spectral storms. In their view, the Hecata need to create more spirits to achieve their destiny before the rival ministry manages to resurrect their dead founder. To generate more spirits, mortals must die in large numbers, preferably with a lot of unresolved matters. Hence, these elders seek out areas of violence, tension, and unrest, particularly in nations with nuclear weapons, as potential hotbeds for their needs. However, their plans have faced challenges. In regions like India, Pakistan, and China, local powers and supernatural beings like the Kuei Jin have foiled Hecata's efforts to incite violence or control these regions. The Western world, particularly the US, is deemed too peaceful for their needs. South America and Africa hold promise, but their conflicts are too small-scale and unlikely to go nuclear. While the Hecata try to smuggle cheap weapons into these regions, moving fissionable material from the former USSR to potential extremists is challenging due to intense scrutiny from organizations like the UN and NATO. The Middle East seems a potential ground for their plans, given its instability and the presence of nuclear weapons in Israel. However, various supernatural beings, Kuei-Jin and others, heavily influence this region. The Hecata are thus trying to manipulate this volatile situation by negotiating with renegade lupines and a faction of old-style magicians. However, they face opposition from knowledgeable werewolves, resistant occultists, and other competing factions like the Ministry and Kuei-Jin. The Hecata's twisted games in this high-stakes spectral chess continue, each move more desperate than the last in their pursuit of the endless night. Within the intricate hierarchy of the Hecata clan, the Anziani Council harbors a select group considered the elite within the elite. This assembly is known to convene within the enigmatic 1444 chamber situated in the depths of the mausoleum. Historically, these kindred were venerated as Augustus's closest confidants and were unmatched in their necromantic prowess. Rumors suggest that some members of this group might have even surpassed Augustus in their abilities. In contemporary times, the significance of the chamber has evolved, symbolizing the actual leadership core of the Clan of Death. These leaders, disillusioned by Augustus' unfulfilled promises of domain over 2 realms in half a millennium, were instrumental in the monumental changes that brought the mysterious Capuchin into prominence and fused the Hecata clan into its current iteration. These leaders sensed the growing unrest and potential rebellion among the Giovanni Dons, reminiscent of an anarch revolt. The identities of those within the chamber remain closely guarded secrets, even amongst the Anziani. Only a few of its members have ever disclosed their esteemed status, and that too solely to their closest kin. Being part of the chamber implies an acknowledgement of one's stature as one of the greatest necromancers in history. They're often perceived as a board of directors within the clan, with the power and authority to critique and decide on the chairman's efficacy. The Capuchin is a mysterious figure with ties to the Giovanni vampire clan, even though he is not confirmed to be a Giovanni, or even a kindred. He has been linked with the Catholic Church since the late 16th century, serving as a Franciscan friar. With his position, it's believed he has access to a hidden library beneath the Vatican, from which he has discreetly taken material on dark arts, passing it to his Giovanni allies. Surrounded by zombies and ghouls disguised as priests, the Capuchin has never been spotted outside Italy, but has agents globally. He occasionally trades necromancy information for unique artifacts or intelligence, not money. Although he interacts with other vampire clans, including the Italian Tremere, Malkavians, and Erciyes, the nature of his questions often leaves them disturbed. There are speculations about his identity, with many believing he might be Lazarus, a survivor of a purge against the Giovanni, or Japheth Cappadocius. Both are associated with the mysterious vampire clan, Cappadocian. The Capuchin's significant revelation was about the location of the true vessel, the supposed remains of Cappadocius, which contains a drop of his blood and his soul. Its discovery led to the violent end of Claudius Giovanni. The Black Hand believes the Capuchin might be multiple individuals working towards a destructive goal, possibly intending to bring about the vampire apocalypse known as Gehenna. As for the Hecata, the Capuchin is seen differently by its various factions. The Harbingers see him as a savior, the Samedi view him as both a rival and friend of their leader, and the Giovanni perceive him as a demon or a traitor of ancient knowledge. The Capuchin is now involved in guiding Clan Hecata and is believed to play a part in significant events surrounding the clan. The Hecata have taken the endless night in a few different ways. While many members of the Hecata view such claims as misconceptions or pure paranoia, the Giovanni, throughout their lineage, have certainly been involved in various ambitious and dangerous plots, some of which include the eradication of other kindred, and even challenging the very essence of divinity. For the contemporary Hecata, these grand designs are perceived as merely the obsessions of ancient elders, consumed by their divine ambitions. Today's Hecata aims to realize the original goal of their clan, comprehending the intricacies of life, death, and the transition between the two. This pursuit isn't merely about accumulating power or material gain. It's about self-realization and understanding the broader truths that afflict every kindred. Beneath their luxurious lifestyles and haunting appearances lies a profound truth. The Hecata are, at their core, devotees of both death and undeath. However, their connection with death is not merely superficial. The Hecata revere death as the ultimate truth of existence. Using their necromancy, they've glimpsed into the potential destinies of countless beings, and they claim to have foreseen an eventual end to all existence. Many, particularly within the Giovanni's chamber, ardently wish to witness this cosmic conclusion, hoping to experience the culmination of life's cyclical nature in a way no mortal ever could. In this quest for the endless night, they see themselves as both seekers and manifestations of this phenomenon. And intriguingly, it's the most enlightened and potent among them who genuinely anticipate this end, finding solace in the idea that the climax of all existence is merely moments away in the vast, immortal timeline of a kindred's life. In the current landscape of kindred society, the Hecata occupy a unique and precarious position. Despite being an independent clan, their expertise in death magic and their command of the underworld makes them pivotal players in the complex web of vampiric politics. While some of them focus on the esoteric study of their own dark heritage and the arts of necromancy, others are ever vigilant, seeking opportunities to capitalize on the changing tides of power. Bound by the promise of 1528, the Hecata are barred from direct political engagement in the age-old jihad, the silent war between vampiric sects. This limitation doesn't stop some members from seeking influential roles, but broadly, their enforced neutrality renders them ideal candidates for roles as impartial mediators, consultants, and even assassins. Their hands might be tied politically, but they are free to reap rewards in other forms, be it monetary gain, owed favors, territories, or access to artifacts and sites of arcane significance. However, their apparent independence is a double-edged sword. On one side, they seem vulnerable, with no direct allies among the established sects. But any perceived weakness is deceptive, The Hecata's unity is their strength, while individual sects may have the might to overcome them. Attacking the Hecata would mean invoking the wrath of the entire clan. And in a society as fractured as the Kindreds, a united front against the Hecata remains unlikely. Beyond their roles as mercenaries and negotiators, the Hecata's expertise spans various fields. Many come from wealthy backgrounds, offering financial support to kindred endeavors, from long-term ventures to swift heists. They can also serve as intermediaries with the dead, facilitating communication with spirits, or even banishing troublesome entities. However, their dual loyalty ensures that any information gathered through these channels benefits the Hecata just as much as their clients. Within the Giovanni, there's a singular ambition for every newly embraced member: to ascend the Venetian ladder. While some outsiders may not view them as leaders, the clan's inner circle acknowledges that true respect and value in Venice are garnered not just by impressive offerings, but through groundbreaking advancements in necromantic arts. Becoming one of the esteemed elders, known as Anziani, is no mere feat. Their guidance shapes the clan's direction, and their prestige comes from deep understanding and mastery of necromancy. Entry into the coveted Mausoleum of Venice isn't determined by a family name, but requires acts of severe sacrifice and abhorrent transgressions, all for a greater purpose. Those within this sanctum are, without exception, emotionless monsters. Regardless of their outward demeanor, their core objectives align with the Hecata's primary goals, gaining dominance over both vampires and mortals, while deepening their comprehension of the Sudario, or Shroud, and the enigmatic realm it conceals, the Shadowlands, home to the dead. Their unwavering focus on these goals is crucial for anyone dealing with the Giovanni clan to understand. Earning the notice of an Anziani is an invaluable achievement for any member of the Hecata aspiring to elevate their position. Yet this recognition is a double-edged sword. While lesser members' errors might be overlooked, those marked as promising face severe repercussions for their failures. Drawing from historical punishments, like the Cappadocians who buried their erring members alive, the Giovanni have their unique, unforgiving methods to address those who fail them. Like most vampire clans, the Giovanni believe that they are the best. This is something that remains prevalent even within the Hecata clan. The oldest members of the clan, called Anziani, hold a deep-seated prejudice believing their bloodline to be the best. Within this clan, there are two types of members: the Unico Sangue and the Doppio Sangue. The former are individuals who were both born and embraced within the Giovanni family, and are thus considered single-blooded. They view themselves as superior due to their pure Giovanni lineage. On the other hand, the Doppio Sangue, or double-blooded, were embraced into the clan, but not born into the Giovanni family, despite still being deemed superior to other vampires and clans. They are seen as inferior to the Unico Sangue within the Giovanni clan. The elders don't discuss this pecking order. To them, it's as natural as the color of the sky. The hierarchy has practical implications. An Unico Sangue is typically given the ultimate authority on important projects. Regardless of whether a Doppio Sangue might be more experienced or informed, this bias creates friction and dissatisfaction among the Doppio Sangue, as they often find themselves doing the difficult tasks and facing greater risks, while the Giovanni sit back and enjoy the prestige. Although they express discontent privately, the Doppio Sangue usually tolerate this hierarchy because, ironically, the Giovanni are harder on their own when they fail. Furthermore, the single-blooded Giovanni possess the mystic blood that they can offer to others, which is a compelling reason for others to buy into the established status quo. Stemming from their merchant background, the Giovanni are economical in their acquisition of blood, always adhering to their principle of get it cheap, sell it dear. This belief is still widespread among the Hecate, as the Giovanni have turned the clan into the most financially successful clan within vampire society, rivaling that of the Camarilla. The Hecata are unique due to the curse of Lamia, which makes their bite painful and unpleasant for mortals, unlike the euphoric kiss experienced by victims of other vampire clans. This prevents them from easily establishing blood cults or herds of willing donors. To overcome this, they employ various strategies, each with its own advantages and disadvantages. One method is to drain blood from dead bodies, often procured from hospitals or mortuaries. Despite being an efficient strategy, It carries risks such as being monitored by hunters or competing with other vampires like the Nosferatu, who also frequent such locations. This approach also comes with the downside of the blood being less enjoyable for the vampires to consume, likened to cold, congealed, flavorless gruel. Another tactic involves paying individuals, often desperate people, for their blood. This requires more discretion and could be accomplished through setting up a fake blood donation center. While more labor-intensive and requiring higher overhead, it allows the Hecata to obtain blood without raising suspicions. The Hecata have also turned to regions where life, and therefore blood, is cheap. Conflicts, particularly in South America and Africa, offer abundant opportunities for the Hecata to feed and exert influence. Working in such volatile environments, however, exposes them to greater danger and increased scrutiny. The Hecata have adapted their means of procuring vitae to their circumstances, and while some methods are more effective or discreet than others, all reflect their shrewd and ruthless mindset as a clan. Despite this, their practices aren't without risk, making the acquisition of blood a constant balancing act between reward, risk, and effort. The Hecata clan resembles a vast cult centered around ancestor worship and death, but unlike typical religions, many of its members don't acknowledge that they're part of such a belief system. The clan structure emphasizes respecting elders, akin to the Camarilla's tactics, with the significant difference being the familial ties within Hecata. Elders are often blood relatives, or they exercise control over younger members by virtue of vitae-based descent. This makes the path to power within the Hecata more transparent. One doesn't choose to become a part of the Hecata. Instead, the clan selects its members. Joining means gaining a fiercely protective family willing to go to extreme lengths for their kin, including avenging any harm done to them. Membership grants access to rare knowledge and a clear purpose in the vampire's own life. The Hecata clan aims to amass power, whether it's through wealth, influence, expanding the family lineage, mastering dark arts, or acquiring profound knowledge. Members often receive guidance from a Maula to discover and pursue their particular path. However, being a part of the Hecata comes with challenges. The clan's protectiveness borders on obsession, making it nearly impossible for a member to depart or join a different sect. Even those Hecata members who attain positions outside of the clan remain under obligation to their family. Betrayal within the Hecata's context often carries a death penalty, with exile rarely considered due to the clan's secretive disposition. Ultimately, being in the Hecata is about choosing between security and freedom. While the clan offers safety and purpose, it restricts individual liberty. Even those granted a semblance of freedom for specific tasks are always bound to return and report to their superior kin, making true freedom an elusive concept within the clan. The Hecata clan practices a ritual known as the proxy kiss, in which they feed their vitae to a family member to create a ghoul. The methods for administering the proxy kiss vary. Some perform it as a voluntary act in a black mass. Others sneak it into a person's food. Regardless of the approach, the act is seen as a considerable honor. However, the tradition of the proxy kiss is losing favor, especially outside of Italy. It's still practiced in parts of Europe and Africa, but less so in the Americas. Some Hecata, particularly the Milliners, suggest that the proxy kiss should be optional. Resistance to this tradition is largely political and practical. The Unico Sangue Hecata, the primary givers of the vitae, use the proxy kiss to control neonates, a fact that breeds distrust among the double-bloods. Furthermore, as the division within the family grows, particularly between the Anziani Prudente and the Anziani Appassionati, the proxy kiss is increasingly being considered non-compulsory. This shift in attitude is largely because the control offered by the proxy kiss only benefited the elders when they were completely united. Every year on April 4th, the Giovanni family celebrates the anniversary of Augustus's decision to betray his sire and form his own clan. The actual deed's anniversary is also celebrated, but only in Venice, and only by the Anziani in protective ceremonies. This celebration is reviled by some other members of the Hecata, particularly the Harbingers. On this day, lavish parties are thrown, beginning in the afternoon with mortals and ghouls, with the kindred joining after sunset. These parties are exclusive to those who know the truth about the Giovanni or those about to learn. April 4th is also when new family members are proposed for the proxy, kiss, and the embrace, as well as significant rituals within the clan. Elders have the right to embrace at any time, but on April 4th, those without this privilege can request for a favored mortal or ghoul to be embraced. The Giovanni are more cautious when bestowing the proxy kiss on family members who might potentially be embraced than creating non-family ghouls. Following these decisions, the party continues with refreshments that include live victims for each elder, plus extras for any newly embraced. Newly created kindred are given the first opportunity to feed, followed by those who perform the proxy kiss, then any anziani. After these groups have fed, others are permitted to feed, including family ghouls who are typically allowed to drink living blood only on this day. However, ghouls are then expected to dispose of the bodies. Some members of the Hecata, such as the offspring of traditionalist sires or Italian kindred, are expected to provide a yearly tithe to their sires or the main family. The type and amount of this tithe depend on the individual kindred's authority. The higher the authority, the greater the expected contribution for the family's welfare. Tithes can be in physical assets or souls, and the currency provided is determined by the donor. For instance, the Dunsirn typically give money, the Pisanab usually tithe souls, and the Della Passalia provide a mix of both. Neonates generally have their tithes paid by their sires until they are wealthy or skilled enough in necromancy to contribute themselves. Once they can imprison ghosts, they are expected to deliver 3 ghosts per year, or their monetary equivalent, to the closest family repository. To qualify as delivered, the ghost must be properly imprisoned and held for at least a week. Tithing is usually optional, and kindred are informed about it shortly after their embrace. However, the more respected a Giovanni is, the more they are expected to tithe if they choose to do so. A neonate who tithes 1 soul or $1,000 might be seen as inexperienced and closely monitored by their sire. An independent Giovanni may be expected to tithe 3 souls, whereas a kindred with greater authority might need to offer 5 or 7. The anziani, the elders, do not typically tithe as they are fully engaged in capturing many ghosts throughout the year. Nonetheless, it's better to give more, as giving too little can be seen as insulting. Tithing can bring much prestige, and most Giovanni past their first 25 years as kindred fulfill this obligation. The spirit realm holds paramount significance to the Hecata clan, serving as both a realm of mastery and a testament to their power. The Hecata don't merely stop at understanding the demise of mortals. Their reach extends beyond the veil, delving deep into the world of spirits, wraiths, and specters. To the Hecata, the spirits are not just ethereal entities, but allies, tools, and occasionally, adversaries. Their ability to communicate, manipulate, and even control these spirits is not just a demonstration of their unique, vampiric prowess, but is also deeply woven into their clan's history, objectives, and internal politics. The spirit world for the Hecata is as tangible and essential as the world of the living, and their intricate dance with the spectral realm underscores their place in the vampiric society. Becoming undead, especially a ghost by choice, is extremely rare, but some members of the Hecata clan have managed to do so over the centuries, becoming wraiths and even specters. These spirit allies are of great value to the Hecata still living, as they can lure other ghosts into ambushes and spy on enemies even in daylight, with minimal risk of betrayal or disobedience. As these wraiths age, their power increases significantly, potentially posing a threat to any but the most well-protected kindred. They also exert substantial influence on the other side, acquiring ghostly powers such as spirit shaping and causing supernatural disruptions in the world of the living. The Hecata particularly value these wraiths for their ability to fleshcraft other wraiths, rendering them immobilized and insensate, making them ideal souls for the Endless Night ritual. However, wraiths tithed for the Endless Night are not used for standard tasks like espionage or harassment, as this risks their destruction or escape. Instead, they are paralyzed or stored in their catenae and placed in one of the Hecata sepulchres. The relationship between Hecata wraiths and their mortal kin is complex. The threat of necromantic revenge is powerful, but serving menacing black magicians often leads to isolation, especially when captured ghosts tend to disappear. The Hecata typically view wraiths as inferior beings, fit for use, torment, and enslavement. This causes an uncomfortable cognitive dissonance when someone they respected or loved becomes a wraith. For those who have been transformed into a wraith, this emotional conflict is incredibly intense. Necromancy acknowledges the existence of another world where the dead reside. This other world wraps around, permeates, or underlies our world, like a sheet, gas, or the sea under Venice. The dead can observe the living from there, but unless you practice the black art, you can't see this world. An immaterial barrier called the Sudario separates the two worlds, preventing ghosts from influencing the mortal realm. The thickness of this barrier varies depending on people's mental states or the nature of the location. A necromancer can manipulate its thickness. Beyond the Sudario is the underworld, a murky reflection of our world. Below this top level, there are deeper, inaccessible levels called the Tempest. This is where ancient, disconnected souls reside. Previously, the Tempest held cities of the dead with political structures, guilds, and transport systems. But due to a destructive phenomenon known as a maelstrom, a violent storm much worse than any earthly tempest, these structures have largely vanished. Few necromancers suspect another level below the Tempest. Only a handful claim to have explored it. And of those, only a couple returned sane enough to provide a coherent description. They described a daedalo, or maze, that might be a creature's body, a cage for death energy, or a trap for destructive forces. It might also be home to some of the most horrifying entities in existence. When someone dies with unfinished business and is stubborn enough to resist moving on, they become a ghost or spirito. Being a ghost is a highly frustrating existence, as they are often unable to complete the tasks that keep them tethered to the mortal world. Ghosts are also tied to physical objects called catenae or fetters, and are dependent on emotions for survival. These elements are crucial to understand when dealing with wraiths. Ghosts can be managed in two ways by necromancers. The soft approach involves helping ghosts achieve their unfinished business, which is risky because once they accomplish their mission, they stop being a ghost. The hard approach involves manipulation or threats to control the ghost. However, a ghost that experiences too much frustration might transform into a specter, a type of entity that no longer cares about its past life and only seeks vengeance. The best approach combines both methods by promising to help the ghost without actually fulfilling its goals, and by subtly exploiting its emotional needs and ties to its fetter. The goal is to position oneself as a figure too powerful to challenge, yet helpful enough to avoid provoking the ghost's wrath. Wraiths and specters are two different entities. Wraiths are human souls with unfinished business, while specters represent pure destruction or entropy combined with intellect. They are entities that embody absolute silence, oblivion, and cessation of all movement. Specters feed off negative, destructive emotions, with their ultimate goal being to tear down and erase everything, reducing it to nothingness. They are capable of cunning and can anticipate or innovate, often feigning obedience, while pursuing their own agenda of destruction. Specters have been consumed and remade by powerful non-human entities that embody non-existence. These entities possess immense will, intelligence, and power, with specters being the products of their consumption and subsequent transformation. Due to this transformation, intimidating or controlling a specter is highly unlikely. Moreover, specters are constantly in contact with each other, almost like a network of destruction. Their relationships are not cooperative but opportunistic. They may aid or harm each other, depending on the situation. Despite their destructive nature, dealing with specters is not entirely discouraged. There are opportunities for mutual benefit as they thrive on terror and destruction, two elements also inherent in vampire feeding. However, it is essential to remember that a specter is always manipulating the situation to its advantage as much as you might be trying to exploit it. Risen are entities that sit between wraiths and specters, possessing a unique and dangerous disposition. They are increasingly common in modern times and are particularly aggressive and goal-oriented. It can be perilous to obstruct a Risen's goal, and even more so if you are the goal itself. Some Risen struggle to adjust to the reintegration of their souls into their decayed brains, resulting in a mindless, zombie-like state. These are the most common type of Risen. However, there are also Risen who retain their full intellect from life, and these are far more formidable. Unfortunately, standard necromancy has limited effectiveness on Risen. The bone path can have some impact, but only if you're highly skilled. Traditional compulsion methods are entirely ineffective. Resources do exist to combat the Risen, such as a devil stick, or certain rituals that only the powerful could share. However, if you're facing issues with the Walking Dead, you're likely to require significant assistance. The underworld has drastically changed recently, shifting from a somewhat predictable environment to a tumultuous storm. Wraiths, usually found in the Shadowlands or the cities beyond the Shroud, and specters, who reside in the underworld, have been disturbed. Several theories propose why, but the cause is irrelevant. What matters is the storm has thinned the barrier between the spirit and human world. This makes it easier to bring wraiths into our world, but harder to control them. The tumultuous storm makes spirits' anchors to the living world even more crucial, as spirits use them to recover. Destroying a spirit's anchor could significantly weaken it. This chaos also resulted in many spirits randomly being launched into the human world, attaching themselves to unsuspecting individuals or objects without any previous connection, creating what's referred to as buffets of spirits. Traveling through the Sudario has also become easier, yet riskier due to the warlike conditions in the spirit world. Numerous necromancers were lost when the turmoil began, and many spirit allies have disappeared or transformed into the less trustworthy specters. Despite the challenges, this chaos presents opportunities as well. Calling upon spirits is easier, even if controlling them is harder. This requires a more diplomatic approach than brute force. Other kindred clans perceive the increased ghost activity as the Hecata's doing, which can be used to their advantage. However, a misstep could incite them to attack out of fear. Necromancy is a branch of blood magic concentrating on interactions with the dead, particularly wraiths and the Shadowlands. Diverse styles of this magic exist, but it's predominantly associated with clans and bloodlines like the Giovanni, Samedi, Harbingers of Skulls, and Nagaraja. The discipline has roots in both the Cappadocians' Mortis and the Giovanni's Nigromancy. The most prevalent form in the Western world hails from inspirations of ancient Rome and Greece. In these ancient cultures, necromancy wasn't inherently evil as long as the practitioners sought good purposes and refrained from controlling spirits against their will. The art later merged with Christian beliefs, and even in modern times, classical mythology remains influential in necromantic rituals. In the Dark Ages, the use of necromancy was seen as a sign of God's disapproval, placing practitioners in a limbo between life and death. Utilizing this magic poisons its surroundings, leading to the effects known as sequelae. These range from stunted plant growth and reduced mammalian fertility to visible signs of decay on the practitioner, and a weakened boundary, or shroud, between the living and the dead. By the modern Knights, necromancy branched into two main principles developed around the 3rd century: authority and taboo. The authority principle is built on the cosmology of Iamblichus, which places all supernatural entities on a hierarchy. Since ghosts are seen as lesser than the living, the necromancer, using symbols and practices, can control them. This approach sees wraiths as resources and emphasizes purity, accuracy, and the use of symbols related to control and dominance. The taboo is grounded in breaking societal rules to gain power. The more sacred the rule, the greater the power obtained from its violation. Contact with human remains, being a significant taboo, became a focus. Practitioners in this vein use objects of disgust, or those contrary to death, like symbols of youth or pleasure, to harness power. Extreme acts like necrophilia exemplify the lengths to which some go to break taboos and empower their rituals. Most necromancers specialize in either the authority or taboo principle, as combining them is complex. Similar to thaumaturgy, Necromancy is broken into paths. While any practitioner of necromancy can learn any path, many are a closely guarded secret for each bloodline, and it is rare for members outside of it to learn them. However, the creation of the Hecata has led to these paths being open to more members of the overall clan. The Bone Path is a general necromantic path used by many necromancers. It equips the practitioner with the ability to manipulate and control the deceased remains of both animals and humans. Through this path, a necromancer can bring corpses back to life, essentially creating zombies. These reanimated beings can carry out a range of tasks, from simple actions like shifting the position of their own flesh or lifting heavy objects, to more complex and aggressive actions such as attacking on command. Beyond the physical manipulation of the dead, practitioners can also delve into the metaphysical, gaining the power to extract souls from bodies and even relocate these souls into new corpses. The Ash Path gives necromancers a unique advantage in their interactions with the ethereal world of the Shadowlands. By harnessing its capabilities, a practitioner can perceive the elusive Shadowlands, facilitating a direct line of sight into this mysterious realm. Not only can they visually access this plane, but they also acquire the ability to communicate effortlessly with its deceased inhabitants, regardless of language barriers. Furthermore, the Ash Path allows them to physically interact with objects within the Shadowlands, extending their reach beyond the confines of the living world. For those with advanced mastery, they can even cross over, stepping into the Shadowlands themselves. Additionally, adept users can manipulate the very barrier between the living and the dead, either fortifying or thinning the shroud in specific areas as they see fit. The Sepulchre Path is favored by the Giovanni and equips a necromancer with a diverse range of abilities concerning wraiths or ghosts. With this path, a practitioner can delve into the final moments of a corpse's life, gaining insight into their last experiences. Additionally, they have the capability to summon wraiths, drawing them to their presence. More dominantly, they can even compel these summoned wraiths, forcing them to act according to the necromancer's will. Beyond interaction and command, the necromancer can also tether a wraith to a specific location or object, effectively haunting that place or item. Lastly, should the need arise, the practitioner can directly harm a spirit, inflicting damage upon it. The Vitreous Path is the Nagaraja's unique necromantic path that grants them more advanced control over wraiths than even the widely practiced Sepulchre Path. With mastery in this specialized path, a practitioner can not only gain in-depth insights into the realm of the dead, like perceiving imminent death, diagnosing illnesses, and discerning if a wraith is controlled by their darker side or shadow, but also wield tangible powers. These powers include the ability to infect objects with the essence of oblivion, unleash deadly necrotic energy as a weapon, and even summon creatures from the Shadowlands. Notably, advanced practitioners can derive nourishment from wraiths, consuming their energy as a replacement for blood, highlighting the path's unique blend of control and sustenance. The Cenotaph Path, predominantly practiced by the Ghiberti family, a minor bloodline within the Giovanni clan, offers the necromancer unique control over the connections between wraiths and the physical world. Practitioners can detect recent wraith activity in an area and discern if an object serves as a vital attachment or fetter for a wraith. Additionally, they can gauge the intensity of the barrier, or shroud, that separates the living world from the realm of the dead. These necromancers also possess a heightened sensitivity to nearby deaths. In advanced applications, they can even craft artificial attachments for wraiths, manipulating the ties that anchor these spirits to the material world. The Path of Haunting is an arcane discipline that was developed by the Giovanni during their early days as a subset of the Cappadocians. This path taps into the mysterious essence of the Shadowlands and is deeply intertwined with the enigma of death. It grants practitioners the ability to evoke deep-seated depressive feelings and anxiety in their targets through haunting melodies. They can also conjure wisps for the purpose of distraction. More advanced capabilities include inducing intense nightmares related to one's own mortality and summoning spectral apparitions that can perform rudimentary tasks. At its pinnacle, the practitioner can besiege a victim with malevolent spirits, creating an atmosphere of unending torment. The Path of Skulls is a nearly lost art, once the domain of a clandestine group of Cappadocians, aiming to consolidate their clan's political influence. Practitioners of this path possess unique abilities connected to skulls and severed heads. They can peer through the eyes of a specially prepared skull, granting them vision from its perspective. Additionally, they have the capability to tap into the memories stored in a severed head, giving them insight into past events or knowledge. Another intriguing power they wield is animating a skull, allowing it to defend its master by biting potential threats. Beyond this, they can transfer a memory from a skull directly into their own minds, effectively downloading experiences. Lastly, in a blend of sacrifice and gain, they can consume a fragment of a deceased individual's soul to acquire a particular skill, piece of knowledge, or ability. But this comes at the cost of relinquishing one of their own abilities or knowledge in exchange. The Path of the Twilight Garden, also known as the Path of Four Humors, is specialized by the Lamia bloodline and focuses on manipulating both psychological and physiological states through the application of the four bodily humors. Practitioners can whisper nightmares or induce fear into victims, make their bites toxic and potentially lethal, and excrete altered versions of bodily humors to produce a variety of effects such as inducing lethargy, visions of death, excessive bleeding, or releasing deadly toxins. Additionally, users can strengthen their own undead bodies and gain a deeper understanding of impending death among nearby mortals, even gaining the capability to see the dead. Finally, they have the ability to produce a dark cloud that suffuses the area, choking everyone within with a deep sense of malaise and depression. Overall, the path grants its users a range of powers that allow for potent psychological and physical manipulation, heightened senses and protections, and an enhanced connection to the realm of death. The Hecata, steeped in their intricate knowledge of death and the spirit realm, often find themselves in a unique position within the larger tapestry of the supernatural world. While their primary focus remains on spirits and the afterlife, their reach and interactions extend to other supernatural entities and factions. Vampiric politics, werewolf territories, and the enigmatic worlds of mages and fae are not foreign to them, even if their involvement varies. With some, like the kindred, they might share an uneasy truce or occasional collaboration, while with others, such as werewolves who guard the spirit realm fiercely, there could be territorial disputes or philosophical disagreements. Moreover, their necromantic practices often draw the attention, and at times ire, of mages, who view the manipulation of the dead and spirit realm through a different arcane lens. Navigating this intricate web, the Hecata maintain a balance of power, respect, and pragmatism, ever aware of the shifting sands of supernatural politics and allegiances. The Hecata clan harbors a mixed view towards the Camarilla, seeing them as somewhat useful, yet largely misguided in their understanding of what it truly means to be a vampire. They are seen as a mildly annoying necessity, providing stability but also annoyance with their incessant politicking and their refusal to fully embrace their vampiric nature. The Camarilla's principle of maintaining secrecy from the mortal world, known as the Masquerade, is viewed with approval by the Hecata. They believe this measure, despite its reactionary nature, is crucial for their kind's survival in the current era. They have found that it's surprisingly easy to manipulate the Camarilla by adhering to their own masquerade standards. However, there is clear resentment towards the Camarilla's success and their condescending attitudes. The Hecata don't appreciate their expectation of subjugation to the Camarilla's leadership, especially when it comes to outdated leaders who fail to adapt to the modern world. They take a strategic view of the conflict between the Camarilla and the Sabbat, viewing it as an opportunity to expand their influence, while the two major factions are preoccupied with each other. They foresee potential gains in the aftermath of the conflict, but lament the limiting effects of external threats like the Maelstrom. While dealing with the Camarilla, the Hecata focus on maintaining a facade that their ultimate goal is wealth, and their practice of necromancy is merely a tool towards that end. They recognize that the Camarilla is familiar with these aspects of their operation, and are likely to underestimate them. They believe this underestimation would work to their advantage when they finally unveil their true plans, taking the Camarilla by surprise and potentially turning them into unwitting pawns. From the perspective of the Hecata clan, the Sabbat presents an enigmatic and, to some degree, frustrating entity. The clan's members often regard the Sabbat with a blend of bewilderment and criticism, due to their unconventional practices and the apparent chaos they tend to generate. The Sabbat's emphasis on maintaining mutual blood bonds among its members, and their disposition toward outright killing humans, instead of merely feeding on them, seems excessive to some in the Hecata. Equally, their inclination towards destruction is seen as a misguided expression of their vampiric nature. Despite this criticism, they appreciate the Sabbat's efforts to guard against the resurrection of the antediluvians. This aligns with the Hecata's own interest in preventing more chaos from ancient vampire forces. However, the Sabbat's vision of a world dominated by vampires with humans reduced to slavery is viewed as impractical, if not downright delusional. They perceive the Sabbat's utopian dream as an unrealistic overreach, given the vast numerical superiority and defensive capabilities of humans. The Hecata clan maintains an unspoken policy of mutual disregard with the Sabbat at a global level. They note that the Sabbat has often underestimated them on a personal level, an error they don't intend to reciprocate. They realize that, despite their flaws, the Sabbat can be manipulated to their advantage against other factions. However, they also express caution when dealing with the Sabbat due to the unpredictable and often volatile behavior of its members. The Hecata's view of the Anarchs is complex, colored by a mix of disdain, caution, and occasional interest. At their core, the Hecata, with their deep-rooted family traditions and connections to death, often see the Anarchs as impulsive upstarts, rejecting time-honored traditions in favor of short-sighted rebellion. However, they also recognize the potential threat and influence the Anarchs wield, particularly in the modern nights where the flames of revolution burn bright. While some within the Hecata dismiss them outright, others see value in establishing discreet ties or mutual understandings, given the shared enemies both groups might have in the established order. But even in collaboration, the Hecata remain wary, always conscious of the volatile and unpredictable nature of the Anarch movement. The Hecata's perspective on the Assamites clan is largely pragmatic, as they consider them both potential threats and tools to be manipulated. This clan of vampire assassins is seen as quite dangerous, particularly due to their sudden and unpredictable acts of violence. The Assamites were once considered reliable and efficient, if a bit rigid. They're seen as skilled in stealth, and while they may not be the strongest in a head-on confrontation, their expertise in subterfuge makes them a formidable adversary in the shadowy world of kindred politics. Recent erratic behavior from the Assamites, however, has made the Hecata clan wary. The Assamites are perceived to be exploiting the vulnerability of smaller, less numbered groups like the Hecata, thinking they can pick them off without consequences. This perception has driven the Hecata to counteract the threat by maintaining pressure on the Assamites, possibly by leveraging their connections with other clans. They see themselves as having certain advantages over the Assamites. These include wealth, a well-established relationship with ghosts that allows for superior information gathering, especially during the day when the Assamites are less active, and a greater degree of self-control. Many Hecata are also aware of the Assamites' weakness, their blood addiction, and are willing to exploit it to divert their attention towards the Camarilla, or Sabbat. As for the Assamite clan's internal dynamics, the Hecata suspect that the removal of the blood curse will create issues in the long run. The elders in the Assamite clan are thought to fear their children who are now freed from the curse and have an insatiable craving for elder blood, known as amaranth. This tension is expected to lead to power struggles within the Assamite clan, and the Hecata anticipate significant internal conflicts in the near future. They also strategically utilize the Assamites' resentment towards other clans, specifically the Tremere and Ventru, to their advantage. They try to direct the Assamites' hostility towards the Tremere to protect both themselves and the Ventru, who they find useful. They anticipate the Assamites will initially succeed in their endeavors, but predict that internal strife and the clan's inherently unstable structure will eventually lead to their downfall. For the Hecata, the Brujah clan embodies a paradox. On one hand, they regard the Brujah with a level of respect due to their ancient lineage and the undeniable passion they bring to their endeavors. The Hecata, deeply rooted in their own traditions and familial ties, can appreciate the Brujah's dedication to their causes and their rich history of rebellion. However, the Hecata also view them with a certain level of skepticism and caution. The Brujah's notorious impulsiveness and propensity for violence can often make them unpredictable allies or volatile adversaries. While individual relationships between members of the two clans can range from deeply collaborative to openly antagonistic, the Hecata as a whole approach the Brujah with a careful blend of respect and wariness, always mindful of the clan's fiery temperament. The Hecata clan appears to see the Gangrel, who are known for their independent nature and survival skills, as potentially useful tools, while also considering them to be vulnerable and disorganized. On one hand, the clan's recent departure from the Camarilla has created opportunities for the Hecata. For instance, they could provide valuable services like reconnaissance or bounty hunting. They consider this situation as beneficial to their negotiations with other independent clans, such as the Assamites, as it can promote healthy competition. However, the Hecata acknowledge that the Gangrel's lack of unified structure may hinder their potential usefulness. The Gangrel are scattered and individualistic. This lack of unity could make them an easy target for threats like werewolves or mortal hunters, leading to a slow but steady attrition of their numbers. They perceive the Gangrel's withdrawal from the Camarilla as a significant blow to the sect, particularly because it loses a primary source of strength and aggression. The Hecata propose a strategic aid to the Gangrel, enough to keep them going and continue to pose a challenge to the Camarilla. This assistance, however, should be rendered in such a way that it does not expose the Hecata clan to any significant risk. If possible, they suggest that the Gangrel should remain unaware of the help. But if this is not feasible, the aid should be given in a way that makes the Gangrel feel indebted to the Hecata. The Hecata clan regards the La Sombra with a blend of respect and critique. The La Sombra are seen as once influential and formidable, but now mostly irrelevant due to their refusal to adapt to the changing times. Their display of archaic power, typical of the Dark Ages, no longer holds sway in the modern world. Despite their evident strength, ruthlessness, and intelligence, they perceive them as anachronistic and out of touch with the realities of the 21st century. The La Sombra's inability to accept defeat is acknowledged, with the Hecata noting that when on a winning streak, they are a force to reckon with. However, they believe the La Sombra's inevitable stumble in the face of their numerous adversaries will make them vulnerable to exploitation. On the other hand, the La Sombra are seen as a cautionary tale, showing what happens when an entity tries to uphold an outdated situation rather than adapting to a new one. Their war against dormant enemies are seen as exercises in futility. The Hecata critique them for squandering their considerable talents and abilities on fruitless endeavors instead of focusing on more worthwhile goals. This, they believe, results in an eternity of unnecessary strife and conflict, signifying a substantial waste of their potential. To the Hecata, the La Sombra's shift from the Sabbat to the Camarilla is both intriguing and cautionary. The Hecata recognize the power dynamics and ever-changing political landscapes of kindred society. While some within the clan see the La Sombra's move as a shrewd play for power, others view it as a betrayal of their Sabbat brethren, and a potentially desperate bid for survival in changing times. This transition has led to a certain level of distrust towards the La Sombra, with the Hecata questioning their loyalty and long-term intentions. At the same time, the Hecata understand that in the immortal dance of kindred politics, allegiances can be fluid. The Hecata clan has a dismissive and skeptical view of the Malkavian clan, likening them to a broken clock that only tells the correct time twice a day. This comparison conveys their belief that despite the occasional wisdom that might emanate from the Malkavians, their inherent madness largely makes them unreliable. They reject contemporary psychological theories about the roots of madness, instead attributing it to a mind overexposed to the world's chaos and disarray. In the Hecata's perspective, this chaos is what shapes the Malkavians, turning them into conduits of this unpredictable and chaotic energy. Despite acknowledging that Malkavians can sometimes exhibit surprising coherence and cunning, the Hecata ultimately consider their contributions as trivial and inconsequential. They view the Malkavians as merely echoes of chaos, without the illuminating or transformative power of true insight. Against the unending patience of oblivion, the Hecata see the Malkavians as ultimately insignificant. The Hecata clan has a wary, cautious attitude towards the Nosferatu. They respect the Nosferatu's powerful information network and their shared awareness of their accursed state. But they also recognize the challenges that come with dealing with this secretive and grotesque clan. They see the Nosferatu as highly knowledgeable, understanding that they can be valuable allies for their information-gathering capabilities. However, this connection is viewed as a double-edged sword. The Hecata realize that the Nosferatu could potentially unearth their secret plans, owing to their insatiable curiosity and uncanny knack for unearthing hidden truths. Furthermore, the Hecata view the Nosferatu as highly resilient due to their outcast status, with a remarkable tendency to support each other. Hence, they are cautious when it comes to direct confrontations with the Nosferatu, as such incidents could invite further complications. While acknowledging the Nosferatu's perceptiveness, the Hecata place more emphasis on the use of physical security measures and other precautions to keep their secrets. For them, rituals are only performed in highly secure strongholds, and they utilize various methods to discourage any potential spying attempts by the Nosferatu. These methods can range from technologically advanced trapping mechanisms to more traditional precautions, like the use of burning oil. Interestingly, the Hecata also note the Nosferatu's unique connection with various creatures, an attribute which forces them to ensure their residences are free of any potential animal spies. They believe that the presence of spirits within their dominions serves as an effective deterrent against these creatures, further safeguarding their secrets from the probing eyes of the Nosferatu. The Hecata clan views the Ravnos as a weakened entity, potentially at the brink of destruction due to some internal issue. They hold little sympathy for the Ravnos' plight, with some even expressing a disdainful and dismissive attitude towards them. Despite their overt disdain, the Hecata foresee potential benefits in the Ravnos' current situation. They believe that the weakened Ravnos clan could become prey for other predatory factions, or might resort to selling their loyalties for protection. In both scenarios, the Hecata see opportunities for their clan to profit. The Hecata's strategic suggestion is to offer protection to the Ravnos remnants, but at a high cost. They believe such a transaction could turn out to be beneficial for the Hecata, extracting more from the desperate Ravnos than those who are unwilling to abandon their need for revenge. Additionally, the Hecata clan surmises that any theft from the protected Ravnos would provide a justified cause for exploiting them further. The Hecata clan has a profound antipathy towards the Ministry, which is built on fundamental ideological differences. The Ministry, with their goal of reviving an ancient deity and serving it, clash heavily with the Hecata's ambition to shape the world in a way that allows them to play the role of gods themselves. The Hecata clan holds a certain level of respect for the Ministry due to their shared characteristic of having a defined transformative goal. In contrast to the reactionary nature of the Sabbat and the Camarilla, both the Ministry and the Hecata are seen as proactive, aiming for an ultimate state of affairs and not merely trying to prevent changes. However, the Hecata find the Ministry's plan rather squalid and view it with contempt. They see their own objectives as far more grand and befitting their nature. They are aware of the Ministry's apocalyptic ambitions and hope that the Ministry only suspect rather than know of theirs. Their strategy against the Ministry involves subtlety and indirect confrontation, due to the Ministry's cunning and propensity for manipulation. The Hecata aim to weaken and hinder the Ministry without them being aware of their interference. To this end, they focus on their strengths of financial power and their control over spirits. They use their resources to disrupt the Ministry operations, either by attacking their havens financially or hiring mercenaries in areas of conflict. However, they are also aware of the Ministry's ability to manipulate human passions, which could potentially be used against the Hecata's own tools, the spirits and the ghosts. They see the conflict with the Ministry as daunting and dangerous, given the Ministry's duplicity. However, they draw confidence from the fact that their founder is already awakened, which they consider a significant advantage in their struggle against the Ministry. In interactions, they advise caution and avoidance of direct eye contact, indicative of their wariness and contempt for the Ministry. The Hecata clan views the Toreador with a mix of skepticism, envy, and potential partnership. While the Toreador are often seen as overly indulgent in their emotional and aesthetic pursuits, their ability to align with modern trends like internet stocks reveals a cunning side. They acknowledge this astuteness, even if they also lament their clan's slower adaptation to technological advancements. One of the Toreador's most distinguishing features is their closeness to humanity, which the Hecata view with some disdain. Many Hecata perceives their ability to experience human-like sensations, particularly sexual pleasure, as a weakness. The Hecata believes that this leaves many Toreador overly guided by their base desires. However, this same closeness to mortality is seen by other Hecata as the Toreador's strength. Their attachment to human emotions and experiences makes them more approachable and understandable compared to other clans. In the larger scope of the Camarilla, the Toreador are identified by many as potential allies for the Hecata. Their quest for tangible pleasures and wealth, as well as their pragmatic approach to undead existence, makes them more straightforward to negotiate with compared to other clans. This, combined with their strong human ties, presents the Toreador as a clan that can be worked with to the Hecata's advantage. The Hecata clan believes that the Tremere clan aims to dethrone the Ventru as the bedrock of the Camarilla. The clan views the Ventru's conservative control over the Camarilla as a beneficial state of affairs, since it leads to stagnation and makes the organization less likely to perceive the Hecata's true intentions. However, if the Tremere were to become the dominant force in the Camarilla, they would bring a sharper focus and direction, which would be detrimental for the Hecata as their real objectives might be uncovered. Despite some skepticism around the Tremere, the Hecata respect their resilience and ability to endure. They recognize that the Tremere have weathered many threats over the centuries from clans such as the Tzimisce, Assamites, and Gangrel. The Hecata clan is wary of directly opposing the Tremere, fearing retribution should the Tremere succeed in their ambitions with the Camarilla. Interestingly, the Hecata see a potential advantage in the Tremere's long-standing desire for necromantic knowledge. The Tremere have often tried to emulate the Hecata's mastery over the dead, producing their own versions of necromantic rituals. With the recent disturbances in the Shadowlands, the Hecata contemplate a shift in strategy. Perhaps they could share some of their necromantic knowledge with the Tremere, in hopes that it might lead the Tremere to their own downfall. Essentially, the Hecata consider providing the Tremere with just enough information to get them into trouble, turning their ambition against them. The Hecata clan views the Tzimisce with a combination of amusement and indifference. They mockingly point out the complexity of the Tzimisce name and jest about their apparent isolation, implying they're stuck in a self-imposed, uneventful damnation. More seriously, they acknowledge the Tzimisce's expertise in a specialized domain, but deem it irrelevant to their own interests. Their stance is to maintain a respectful distance from the Tzimisce, expecting mutual non-interference. The Ventru clan, often referred to as the Blue Bloods, are seen by the Hecata as powerful, well-connected, and influential, with considerable wealth and influence in global politics and law enforcement agencies. However, for all their power, the Ventru are perceived as inert and overly cautious, focusing primarily on self-preservation and maintaining their status quo. Their inherent desire to safeguard the secret of vampiric existence, or the kindred, is both commendable and laughable to the Hecata. The Ventru's constant vigilance and efforts to prevent exposure is seen as a security blanket for all vampires, as they believe that if one gets exposed, it jeopardizes the entire vampiric community. The primary driving force for the Ventrue is respect, and their need to maintain an illusion of superiority. They prize their perceived primacy, and are sensitive to any challenges against it. As such, many conflicts with the Ventrue can be resolved by showing them the due deference they demand, even if it's just a facade. To the Hecata, it's essential to play into the Ventrue's ego, giving them the respect and penitence they desire, even if it means temporarily subduing their own ambitions. However, this strategic appeasement is all part of a larger game. The Hecata are wary of the Ventrue's potential to become formidable adversaries in the future, especially in the face of impending events like the Endless Night. As such, while it's essential to curb the Ventrue's influence now, direct confrontation is not the ideal approach. The Hecata believe that challenging the Ventrue outright only fuels their determination and resilience. The Ventrue's self-perception is central to understanding them. They view themselves as the noble elite, with the Hecata and others in a lesser mercantile role. This distinction offers the Hecata a unique advantage. While the Ventrue might be quick to annihilate clans they see as direct threats, they are more likely to humiliate those they deem beneath them, like the Hecata. The Hecata clan advises strong caution when it comes to dealing with werewolves, emphasizing the danger they pose. It is emphasized that provoking these creatures is almost as hazardous as exposing oneself to sunlight, a known deadly vulnerability for vampires. While there are methods to redirect the aggression of werewolves, such as using spiritual entities to mislead them towards other vampire factions, it's important to note that werewolves possess a significant understanding of the spirit realm. Hence, they aren't easily fooled. If a Hecata finds themselves on the wrong side of a werewolf, the best course of action is to avoid confrontation and stay hidden. Given the werewolf's shorter lifespan compared to vampires, waiting out their lifespan is a viable option to avoid their wrath. The Hecata clan's understanding of the world builders, or mages, is limited, with their impact on the kindred society perceived as minimal. From direct experiences, the Hecata find that while mages might possess potent magical capabilities, they are often physically vulnerable, especially when compared to young vampires or neonates. This physical disadvantage is somewhat offset by their adaptability and magical versatility. In any confrontations between kindred and mages, the element of surprise is of utmost importance, a principle that applies broadly across all forms of conflict. A significant weakness observed in mages is their arrogance. Much like the Tremere clan among the kindred, these magic wielders often consider themselves to be the most intelligent beings in any situation. Such overconfidence can be their downfall, especially when they encounter vampires who have honed their cunning and survival instincts over many centuries. While it might be possible to manipulate and use mages as tools in kindred's intricate political games, their unpredictable abilities and potential vulnerabilities make them a risky ally. The Hecata clan would likely advocate for a cautious approach when dealing with mages. Given the long lifespans of kindred, waiting for natural events or time to deal with such threats might be the safest strategy. The Hecata clan possesses limited interaction with entities known as Fae, and their experiences have largely been unfruitful. The tales of another realm, Arcadia, intrigue them, especially due to its purported resemblance to the Shadowlands that the Hecata are familiar with. However, the clan is unable to ascertain the existence of this supposed domain, and considers it possibly irrelevant to their aspirations. Despite the uncertainty surrounding Arcadia, its very existence suggests that the clan's ultimate ambition of ushering in the Endless Night might have unexpected outcomes that they haven't considered. This implication stirs a mix of concern and curiosity within the clan. Their interest in understanding these enigmatic beings is intense. The clan desires to capture one for further examination, yet they face challenges in doing so. Their conventional techniques, especially those associated with ensnaring souls, prove ineffective on these fairies. Additionally, the difficulty lies not just in capturing such a creature, but also in maintaining its vitality during confinement. The enigmatic beings known as hunters are a mystery that has piqued significant interest and concern among the kindred community. Their sudden appearance and abilities have left many puzzled, with theories ranging from divine intervention to disruptions in the mystical fabric of the world. Some speculate that the ongoing shifts in the mystic realm might be responsible for weakening the magical concealments employed by vampires, making these hunters immune to such illusions. These hunters, ordinary mortals who are seemingly resistant to vampire disciplines, pose a significant threat. An example of their dangerous prowess is the tale of Henry Eames, who managed to wipe out a Camarilla stronghold in Birmingham. His actions paved the way for another faction to take over, but Eames' continued presence and his growing network of allies remain a thorn in their side. The danger he presents is exacerbated by reports that some hunters can resist the vampire's influential abilities, though they remain as physically vulnerable as any human. Historical parallels are drawn to the year AD 1000, a time marked by superstition and heightened religious fervor. This period of intense belief and the willingness to commit extreme actions in the name of faith mirror the circumstances of the year 2000. The changing landscape of faith, driven by modern influences like television and tabloids, might have given rise to new forms of potent belief systems. This theory suggests that such passionate beliefs could be the power source for these hunters, allowing them to see through the Camarilla's masquerade and even perceive ghosts. Regardless of the underlying cause, the undeniable fact remains: there are mortals who can see past the supernatural deceptions that have kept the kindred safe for centuries. This newfound ability not only allows them to challenge the vampires directly, but also offers an opportunity for manipulation. Clever kindred have found ways to use compliant spirits to lure these hunters into traps, ensuring that one threat or the other is eliminated to the benefit of those pulling the strings. In both AD 1000 and the year 2000, there were significant shifts in societal beliefs and attitudes. The earlier era witnessed a rise in superstition, violence, and a particular kind of fervent faith that often resulted in irrational and harmful actions. Meanwhile, in 2000, though the anticipated millennial terrorism was minimal, the fervor of belief seemed to have channeled into alternative avenues, suggesting the power of belief might have evolved over time. Contemporary beliefs spread by modern media may have developed a potent form of faith, comparable to traditional religious convictions. However, the crucial point to note is that certain mortals have the uncanny ability to see through the Camarilla's masquerade with startling clarity. They can not only recognize vampires for what they truly are, but can also perceive spirits in their realm. This unique capability can be manipulated by using spirits to lead these fervent individuals to vampire havens, known as Elysiums. Whether it's the intrusive mortals or the kindred, who face consequences as a result, it ensures the status quo is maintained to the satisfaction of those who hold power. Alongside their mastery over death, the Hecata clan boasts of two additional disciplines that align with their macabre heritage and occult expertise. Fortitude, the preternatural resilience against physical and supernatural harm, is particularly valued by a clan that often finds itself toe-to-toe with the restless spirits of the dead and the machinations of other supernatural entities. For the Hecata, this discipline is not just about withstanding physical pain or shrugging off injuries. It symbolizes their perseverance through ages, their capacity to endure when faced with both internal and external pressures. Auspex, an ability to heighten senses, perceive auras, and even tap into precognitive insights, holds special significance for a clan so intimately linked with death and the spirits. For the Hecata, this discipline serves as a bridge between the tangible world and the ephemeral, allowing them to detect the unseen and gain clarity where others might be clouded by deception or illusion. The keen insights gleaned from Auspex enable the Hecata to navigate the treacherous waters of kindred politics, anticipate the wishes and intentions of restless ghosts, and deepen their understanding of the mysteries they constantly seek to unravel. It underscores their role as intermediaries between the living and the dead, granting them the vision to see beyond the veil. The Hecata's uniqueness extends not only to their morbid expertise, but also to the peculiar curse they bear. Known as the clan's bane, It reflects their intimate connection with death and the afterlife. Augustus Giovanni, during his attack on Cappadocius, also diablerized the Lamia leader, but faced unintended consequences. The Lamia were known carriers of disease, and their unique ability or discipline was imparting a painful kiss of death. After consuming the blood of Lamia, this deadly kiss became a trait in Augustus, and subsequently in most of the Giovanni clan, and now has spread to the entire Hecata clan. This means that the Hecata's victims experience intense pain when they feed on them. The curse not only further estranges them from the living, but also serves as a stark reminder of the price they pay for their otherworldly insights. The Hecata, masters of the realms of death, carry not just their clan bane, but also a haunting compulsion deeply woven into their undead psyche. This compulsion manifests as an overpowering obsession with death and the processes surrounding it. When subjected to their compulsion, a Hecata might be driven to study a corpse in meticulous detail, attend random funerals, or even obsessively plan and envision their own final death rites. This morbid fixation serves as both a strength and a vulnerability, for while it roots them deeply in their necromantic arts, it also can detract them from immediate concerns, drawing their attention away at potentially inopportune moments. It's a reflection of the profound grip the shadow of death holds upon their souls, echoing the inevitable cycle of life, death, and rebirth. As hunters, it's paramount we understand the dynamics of our enemy, and the Hecata are no exception. This clan is a mosaic of lineages and traditions deeply rooted in the realms of death and spirits. Recognizing and comprehending the key figures within the Hecata not only provides strategic advantages, but could very well save our lives. These prominent members shape the clan's agendas, hold crucial knowledge, and wield the most potent of their macabre powers. By studying them, we gain insights into the clan's motives, strengths, and weaknesses. It's not just about knowing your enemy. It's about outthinking them, anticipating their moves, and ensuring we remain one step ahead in this eternal cat-and-mouse game. Ignorance in this world is a death sentence. Ambrogino Giovanni is a powerful figure within Clan Hecata, and is recognized as a fifth-generation Cappadocian, descending directly from Lady Constantia, making his lineage unique among the Giovanni. Born a Giovanni bastard, his raw ambition and innate necromantic talents caught the Elder's attention. His unyielding quest for godhood led him to become a vampire, and delve deep into the ancient research of Cappadocius. Ambrogino's relentless pursuit of arcane knowledge led him to seek the Sargon fragment, and later, the Annexexiton, which outlines the path to divine apotheosis. In 1999, his investigations in the Shadowlands were disrupted by the cataclysmic Sixth Maelstrom, leading him to reconsider the true goals of Cappadocius. While he holds a unique position within the Giovanni clan, enjoying special privileges granted by Augustus, he often clashes with and disregards many clan norms, showing little interest in fostering alliances due to his overwhelming self-absorption. Physically, he stands out with a decayed, clawed left hand, a testament to his extensive use of necromancy, and has distinct rotted teeth, purple lips, and pale skin. Isabel is a spy for the Giovanni clan within the Camarilla, frequently providing insights on conclave decisions. Highly skilled in disguise, she opts for adopting new personas over changing her physical appearance. She's been discovered in Primogen councils throughout the US and Canada, and has even posed as members of the Sabbat to benefit the Giovanni. Isabel has an unusual compulsion when feeding. Due to her fear of the curse of Lamia, she drinks only from the severed heads of her prey, akin to drinking from a wine glass. This behavior, although more conspicuous than the curse of Lamia, eases her concerns. Many rumors surround her feeding habits among both the Camarilla and Sabbat. Typically posing as a Toreador or Ventru, she establishes a mortal blood cult wherever she stays, using them as her source of sustenance. Isabel continues her research in necromancy, possibly using the spirits of those she feeds upon. She's discovered several clues about the Khazar's diary and the true vessel. However, it remains a mystery how she finds this info in America, when the artifacts are thought to be located elsewhere. Baron Samedi is recognized as the oldest or possibly the original member of the Samedi bloodline, with unclear origins. While some speculate he was brought to Haiti by the ministry alongside his sister Brigitte, others believe he might be an antediluvian in disguise, adopting the persona of a Haitian death spirit. The Baron references a predecessor of his lineage, potentially one of the drowned legacies, who is now in a dormant state to stave off the tide. Baron Samedi is a black man standing at 5.5 feet, wearing formal attire. His decaying corpse-like appearance amplifies the horror of his attire. He has eyes that appear to be melting down his face, amidst the stench of a large, open grave, and has deteriorating muscles hanging in tatters from his frame. The Baron's history with Augustus Giovanni is marked by animosity since their confrontation in 19th century Venice. The Baron failed to deliver the true vessel to Augustus due to a ministry raid. However, after a personal encounter with Augustus in the Giovanni mausoleum, the Baron miraculously left unscathed. The specifics of their deal remain secretive as the Baron abstains from discussing it, but its significance is evident given their enduring distaste for each other. In contrast, his relationship with the Capuchin is friendly, with the two engaging in exchanges of tales and wisdom for long hours. In recent developments, following the Gangrel's Camarilla departure, Baron Samedi has sent representatives on goodwill missions to Caribbean princedoms. The ancient vampire hints that the Samedi's role in the past and future of vampire lore is more significant than most believe. However, he remains cryptic about the specifics. Lazarus is a faithless vampire, the son of Cappadocius. Before becoming a vampire, he was a Hebrew thanatologist, notable for his profound wisdom and curiosity about death. This made him a favorite of Cappadocius. Nevertheless, his impulsiveness was evident when he recklessly embraced Lamia. When called to the Feast of Folly, Lazarus and his offspring chose to stay in Egypt. He had a keen interest in powerful spells, like the Spell of Life, and sought to understand the Sargon fragments, which contained mystical knowledge penned by Cappadocius himself. He was well informed about his sire's history. However, his refusal to attend the feast resulted in Caius Coain, a representative of Cappadocius, confronting him. They fought, but Lazarus, aided by his powers, emerged victorious. Though he faced many opponents, including the treacherous Alexia Theusa, Lazarus viewed his actions as fulfilling his father's legacy. A significant conflict saw him enter a prolonged sleep from which he only recently awakened. There are accounts that attribute various deeds to Lazarus during different periods, such as his involvement in shifting many of his clan to the Shadowlands during a purge and brokering truces with powerful groups. He's described as a towering skeletal figure reminiscent of the Grim Reaper. It's also suggested that he settled in New Orleans after his time in Egypt, where he had a confrontation with Chas Giovanni Tello, who Lazarus easily defeated. There's some ambiguity about his exact appearance and power, with varying accounts that might be explained by his ability to deceive or alter perceptions. Lamia was a high priestess and descendant of Lilith, who founded the Lamia bloodline after being embraced by Lazarus. This bloodline became the warrior arm of the Cappadocian clan. However, Lamia was diablarized by Augustus Giovanni during the elimination of the Cappadocians. The cult of Lamia was secretive and unknown to many powerful figures through history. Yet, the undead Lazarus of the Cappadocians found out about the cult and visited a temple where Lamia worshipped. After witnessing her rituals, something in Lamia resonated with Lazarus, and he decided to turn her into one of the undead. After her transformation, she was expected to contemplate death eternally. But Lamia whispered some undisclosed secrets to Lazarus, which seemed to have affected their relationship deeply. Since that night, Lazarus avoided her, and their interactions were marked by an unsettling tension. However, she and her descendants remained distinct, serving as warriors and bodyguards to the Cappadocians. When Lamia was diablarized by Augustus Giovanni, a curse was allegedly passed onto the Giovanni clan, causing their vampire bites to be excruciatingly painful. Born as Rowan in rural England, he had an innate connection with the dead, often communicating with spirits and relaying their messages to the living. He gained prominence as a soothsayer, gaining the attention of a Cappadocian named Constantia, who mentored and then embraced him as a vampire under the Constantinople moon. Post-embrace, Rowan's abilities grew profoundly. He could command spirits. Obsessed with understanding the soul, he journeyed through Europe, creating Childer for research. In Paris, a name mispronunciation changed his name to Roger de Camden. Later drawn to the ancient vampire Mithras in London, the two developed a deep bond and became secret lovers. Mithras appointed Camden as his seneschal. In private, de Camden adorns traditional Cappadocian robes, dark with symbolic embroidery. He has pale skin, hollow eyes, and golden hair. As Thomas in public, he blends in with modern attire, jeans, t-shirt, and a jacket. This guise, paired with his demeanor, makes him blend seamlessly, enabling him to approach other kindred discreetly. De Camden played a diplomatic role between Ventrue and Cappadocians and indulged in corpse experimentation due to his position's privileges. He theorized about death's nature, questioning traditional beliefs, and was known for historical research, notably about Lazarus's haven. Around 920, he embraced a mortal nun, Maria Asuncion, due to her strong faith. With the Giovanni clan targeting Cappadocian elders, de Camden faked his death in 1514 through a ritual of transferring the soul, assuming the identity of Pater Thomas. Only he and Mithras knew the truth. Later in the 2010s, a vampire naming himself de Camden resurfaced. After the devastation caused by the Second Inquisition in London, de Camden currently stands as the Prince of Edinburgh, and possibly its steward for Mithras. He leads the cult of Mithras, and those who escaped London with him possess vials of Mithras's vitae. Constantia, originally from Greece, became the revered priestess of bones of the Cappadocian clan during the Dark Ages. She was notably affiliated with the spiritual heart of the Cappadocians, the Erciyes temple. Highly protective of her clan's secrets, she saw threats everywhere. Despite this paranoia, she found inspiration in the Malkavian Anatol's divine madness. In appearance, Constantia is gaunt with light brown hair. Though her features are beautiful, they carry a severity enhanced by her emaciated condition. Cloaked in robes for her outings, her ritualistic ceremonies see her skin adorned with symbolic designs. While not innately adventurous, her travels spanned Europe, Africa, and Asia. Wherever she went, she built networks, always staying informed. Her interest peaked when she learned that a Venetian Giovanni had significant advancements in necromancy. This news was shared with her torpid sire, Cappadocius, leading to an invite for the Giovanni Augustus to join them. Despite reservations about Augustus's intentions from Constantia and her sire Japheth, Augustus was integrated. Their apprehensions were validated when he betrayed the Cappadocians. After a tragic betrayal that ended with the founder of her clan being consumed, Constantia secluded herself. Her research on the Road of Bones allegedly allowed her to obliterate a living soul, leaving an empty shell. She foresaw her clan's downfall in their quest for apotheosis and aimed to avert it, albeit mistakenly targeting Lazarus. By 1443, Constantia disappeared, a year before her clan was purged by the Giovanni. Decades later, an unmarked tomb believed to be hers was discovered, but the evidence vanished. It was later revealed she had relocated to understand her clan's history and protect its secrets. Some speculate that she may now be known as Unre, a harbinger of skulls, though the evidence is circumstantial. In modern times, Constantia has reborn, but not as she once was. Now an entity of chaos and rage, she exists in the body of Gunther Hildebrandt. This new iteration of Constantia possesses great power and acts with no restraint, a shadow of her former self. Janina was a serial diablerist of notorious repute, and found herself on the red list of anathema, captured by the Ventrue, named Lucinde after she became the Justicar of her clan. Janina's origins trace back to the Ashanti culture in West Africa. As a young girl, she was captured by Portuguese slavers and transported to the sugarcane plantations in Haiti. Intrigued by tales of the Baron Samedi, the Lord of Cemeteries, Janina was drawn into a voodoo cult at the age of 9. She witnessed a young cult member being fed upon by a Samedi woman, and when she tried to flee, Baron Samedi embraced her, turning her into a vampire. Life after the embrace wasn't pleasant for Janina. Constantly tormented by Brigitte, another in Baron's brood, she had to quickly master her vampiric disciplines. Although the Baron taught her about undead society and the use of the power of chymistry, he left her in Haiti when threats arose. Alone, Janina used her powers to aid the Haitian independence movement by assassinating opponents of the revolutionary leader, Toussaint Louverture. She saw him as a father figure and used chemistry to hide her decaying vampiric appearance from him. After Louverture's mysterious disappearance, she continued her murderous campaign for Haiti. However, the rise of François Duvalier in 1957 brought ministry attention to Janina, forcing her to flee to North America. Over time, her disdain for her own kind evolved into a murderous desire to expose and destroy all vampires. Engaging in heinous crimes, she left clues in the form of riddles and poems written in her own blood, hoping to lead brilliant minds to the discovery of the kindred's existence. Her power grew as she became a practiced diablerist, consuming the essence of other vampires to lower her own generation. However, her reign of terror concluded in 2000 in San Francisco. Captured by the Justicar Lusanda and her archons, a staked Janina was delivered to the Inner Circle, where she met her final death. The Hecata clan represents a distinctive and unparalleled threat in the vast and dark world of vampires. In these contemporary times, it's a rarity to witness an independent clan, and yet the Hecata stand apart, possessing both the resources and sway that challenge even the mightiest of vampire sects. This is not a matter we as hunters can afford to dismiss or underestimate. However, it's not merely the tangible resources that make them formidable, it's their unity. While many vampire clans are fragmented by internal disputes or lack a cohesive mission, the Hecata are different. They are driven by a singular purpose that sharpens their endeavors, and this, I contend, is the reason they warrant our most acute scrutiny and vigilance. I wish to address all my fellow hunters across the globe. To counter such a cohesive enemy, our response must mirror their unity. Historically, our greatest assets have been our sheer numbers, our unparalleled ability to adapt, and our inexhaustible quest for knowledge. To truly undermine the Hecata's dominion over the dead, we must forge alliances with those proficient in dispelling spirits, and meticulously target their mortal affiliations to destabilize their foundation. Granted, they possess centuries of experience and formidable power. Yet, like all entities, they are not devoid of weaknesses. Through collective efforts, open channels of intelligence sharing, and a strategic focus on their vulnerabilities, we cannot just defend our territories, but also launch a counter-offensive. The Hecata, like many of their kin, flourish in obscurity, but with solidarity and clear intent, we can cast light upon the shadows, revealing the concealed and emerging victorious. Remain ever watchful, and may our endeavors be swift and decisive. Godspeed, hunters.